This is The Gorge. It's a podcast where my friend Sarah and I gorge ourselves on overanalyzing a topic.
The Gorge is brought to you by Patreon. That's patreon.com/thegorge, where if you support us, we'll do other cool things, like a podcast about Fate lore called That's Hell You're Walking Into, where Ben and I stumble blindly into the unknowable depths of the Fate Stay Night universe. A thing that should not be inflicted on anybody, but you know what? It's fine. It's a good time. We recorded a pilot episode for that a few weeks back. If you want to go check the archive, you will find it there. So yeah, we appreciate it. Thanks.
Alright, so, Sarah, what are we talking about this week?
I mean, you saw the episode title, folks. I don't need to tell you what we're talking about this week. I will say that's probably the fastest I've ever burned through a major, JRPG release in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Mind you, it is a bit shorter than your average JRPG, but not, significantly. It's still a meaty video game. Anyways, hey, it's about a week out since Final Fantasy VII Remake came out, and we're talking about it.
Yeah.
It's not even a week. When did it come out? No, about a week.
Yeah, about a week, yeah. Came out, the 10th?
A little bit more than a week.
The
10th.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's 10 day where it's 4:20. Hey, blaze it. I don't have anything to smoke, so I'm drinking instead. Sorry. It's 4:20. We're talking about Final Fantasy VII Remake. Because we were gonna put it off, give us time. And then the end of the game happened, and we're like, fuck it. No.
No,
I changed my mind. We gotta do this now, or we'll die.
We gotta get this out now.
We gotta wrap this shit up. Yeah, so FF7 Remake, huh, buddy? It's a weird thing to say. I played it, I finished it, now I'm talking about it.
That was, you're totally right in that it definitely felt shorter than, the typical JRPG we've played. But,
then I look at my hours, and it's no, I put 35 hours into this game.
Yeah, I put, my hour count ended up being 40, and that's the length of, a Tales game.
That's a Tales game if you don't do all of the side quests. If you do about 50% of the side quest, you have done a Tales game.
Yeah.
So that is pretty. I mean, that's a big video game. I literally, my brother and I got dinner one night. Yeah, I know, quarantine, whatever. It's fine. We're both locked in our homes, so it's not like it's unsafe for me to go see him. My brother and I had dinner the other night, and when I walked over to his house. We were talking, and he's like, so how far are you in Final Fantasy VII? I was like, I beat it? And he just looks at me, and he's like, Sarah, already? I'm like, yeah, bro, already. I literally did nothing the Saturday after it came out. I woke up and played Final Fantasy. That's it. It's literally all I did. So I was done by that shit by Monday night? Yeah. So, I don't even know I don't even know what...
This is one of the first episodes we've done in a while where I feel like we need to go back to our old formula where it's get all the non-spoiler stuff out of the way first and then get heavy into the spoiler stuff.
Yeah, that works. I think that's a good route to take because, even then it just feels so daunting.
And during the spoiler part, we will go over whether or not we hit our goals in our predictions episode.
Okay, that's cool. Good. I'm glad you really re-listened to it because I didn't.
So we talked a little bit about the gameplay during our wrap-up last episode where we, with the demo.
Yeah.
Can you believe this came out? The demo came out and then we played the full game in the span of one episode?
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. The demo came out the day it was supposed to come out. And then about a month and a couple days later, the full game was out, which is just insane. Also, you might have noticed that we are missing an episode or two from this month. There's a reason for that. It's called Final Fantasy VII came out. Yeah. What the fuck else am I supposed to do with my time? You'll be fucking lucky if I play anything else for the rest of the month of April. For real. Yeah.
So first off, we kind of talked about the game, now that we've got more of the game to play.
Yeah, now I get it more. I actually get it.
I really feel this is such a rock... I talked about, how this kind of feels like a good blend between a Kingdom Hearts and, Final Fantasy 12.
Yeah.
And I feel that even more so. This feels like what I wanted FF12 to be like.
Yeah, where the micromanaging, or not the micromanaging, but like party management is still like it's still hands off. Mm-hmm. Like you can still let the AI do its thing, but it is obviously deeply preferable for you to keep an eye on everybody's ATB bars and manage what actions they're taking. It's such a good blend of really playing like a real-time JRPG, like turn-based system. It
is not a character action game.
It is not, and I really had to talk myself out of thinking of it like that. It was really hard, too.
There were a lot of moments where I'm like, this is really hard, and then I'm like, wait, that's because the game wants me to hold back.
Yeah, you're supposed to be guarding. You really are supposed to be treating this like a turn-based... I mean, for certain boss fights, like Reno and Rufus are good examples. And these are boss fights that... Reno is the boss fight, I think, that will teach people how this game wants you to play it. Like, you'll get it at Airbuster to a degree.
Airbuster felt like a turn-based. Like, just straight up, like, take your turns.
But Reno is the one that is really like, no, you really can't just, like, lunge in there and go crazy, right? Yeah. Because he has hard parries for everything you do, unless you really look for openings and stuff like that. So Reno is the first time this game... If you didn't get it at Airbuster, this is where you learn, where it's like, no, you cannot just constantly go in swinging. You have to guard, you have to bide your time, you have to look for when he's available to be attacked, because otherwise he'll just avoid everything you throw at him. Mm-hmm. I think that's really smart. It's a teachable moment. It's a game teaching you how to play it over the course of its actual runtime, which I always appreciate. And it's so just like... Once it clicks with you that you're supposed to be guarding, like, all of the time, basically, until it's time to actually make a move, it actually does fall into the rhythm of, like, a true turn-based system. Like, once you get it, you're like, oh, okay, you are waiting your turn to use abilities. You're not just using standard action or standard attacks is not going to work on the big things. Like, you're biding your time to use your abilities, because the abilities are where you do your big damage against enemies.
Right.
Which is just fascinating. It's so good.
And being able to switch characters, like, instantaneously. Yeah. The camera panning over gives you enough time to reorient yourself, like, with where that character is and what they were doing ahead of time.
There's a very brief time slow effect. It's very, very small. And there's just like as you switch positions, everything stops. So you have a very small window, but it's enough of a window because of human reaction times. It's enough of a window for you to be like, okay, I know what I'm doing. I know what I need to be doing.
It's also, there's a lot of like unspoken things that I noticed kind of later as I played, where enemies will aggro whoever the player is controlling.
Yes.
And you can use that to your advantage by swapping out to a character who has more health or is in a better position to be defensive. And, give them let them tank the damage for a while you heal up everyone else.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
It's like these little systems that feel like so naturally ingrained in the game, like you would expect a character action game to have, like these quirks about like positioning and attacks leading into one another, but adapting it to a structured, patient, turn-based thing.
I actually gave classic mode a try over the course of my play. I actually swapped between the three difficulties a lot, just to kind of give each a shot and see what it feels like. Easy. The Kotaku article about easy mode being too easy is like a joke, but also is kind of true. Like, it is way too easy. But I guess that's just, it's meant to just like kind of be how some BioWare games have like a story mode, right? Where it's like you're just there to burn through the story, but it still felt too easy. And then just out of curiosity, I swapped over to classic mode to see how that played, and I actually really like classic mode. Oh. The only problem is that classic is set default to easy.
So, what I read about it, but what is classic mode?
Classic mode is when if you take your hands off the controller, once a battle starts, after about 2 seconds, the game will take over for you, and it will do everything except use magic and abilities and items. So it will do all of the attacking, all of the guarding, and all of the dodging, so that you can focus on just using abilities. And I liked it. I actually really enjoyed it. It obviously takes a little bit too much. Takes the hands of the player off maybe a little bit too much, because it does auto dodge and auto guard. But it is meant to be for people who are not action game fans, but who still want to play a Final Fantasy.
Right, okay.
And I really liked it, but the only problem is, like I said, it is classic mode. Basically, it's easy mode on automatic.
Right.
It's easy automatic mode in Devil May Cry 1.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed it, but I mean, the fights were over so quickly using classic that I had to switch back to normal. But I was really, really liking it, because it gives you more of a breathing room to really start thinking about, like, not just landing attacks to build ATB, because the computer is doing that for you, but it's also letting you get more tactical. And that's the thing about why it sucks that it's set to easy mode, is because you can see in maybe, like, if you could set classic normal, then you really do have more of an opportunity to get tactical with the usage of different skills and stuff like that, and magic and, like, barrier and all that things.
Right.
You have it frees up some brain space, basically,
right,
to let you, because I mean, otherwise you're playing Final Fantasy Remake, 7 Remake, and you're attacking and you're dodging and you're guarding and you're doing all these different things, and so maybe sometimes that eats up a lot of brain power, and you're not thinking about, well, I need to refresh my barrier, I need to debuff an enemy or whatever, stuff like that. You're more so just thinking about the moment-to-moment to gameplay. You're not thinking as many steps in advance. So I would like it in the future if, like in, Remake 2, they actually did include it again, because it is I actually think it's a really cool system for people who are not action game people. I mean, there's a lot of people out there who just don't play action games. They prefer it turn-based, And it does it's not truly turn-based, but it definitely gives you the feeling of a turn-based game. I really, really liked it. I just wish it wasn't so damn easy is the only problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know if hard mode that you unlock can be set to classic, or if it's...
No.
Okay.
Classic is only on easy mode.
Okay, yeah. Then I wonder if they're going to patch that to change that, because I think that's
that.
Like, I think that would be like a great way to get people to do hard mode without having to, like, actually do hard mode.
Yeah. Hard mode sounds like a nightmare. Especially because hard mode adds extra boss phases, and we'll get to that. Yeah.
Is that the only New Game Plus? Like, you have to do hard mode?
Oh, no.
Okay.
No, you can just do New Game Plus. You just chapter select, and you can set it to normal, and play through the whole game with all of your levels, and all of your leveled material, and all your items, and all your weapons, blah, blah, blah.
Okay, good, because, when I read when I read what hard mode entails, it's not just they're more difficult, it's you can't use items, and benches only heal your HP?
Yeah, no.
No, I'm not.
Thank you.
I'm not running through an entire chapter with only one MP bar.
And also, it adds new phases to bosses.
Yeah.
And I just...
Absolutely not. Not a chance.
Absolutely not. We'll talk about that in a second, but the short version is the bosses are too goddamn long in this game.
Yeah.
But, I mean, as just in general, I think the flow of the gameplay feels really, really good, even if you're not playing in classic mode, if you're just playing it on, like, normal mode. It feels really good. It feels really intuitive, and once you understand that this isn't a Kingdom Hearts, this isn't a character action game, you're not playing fucking Devil May Cry, once you kind of click this idea that you are meant to play it more methodically, then everything kind of falls into place, and it's like, oh, this is actually really good. It's not nearly as hard as I thought it was. It's actually more so that you're just biding your time.
There are so many things I had to train myself out of.
Oh, I know.
For instance, that dodging is instantaneous, but guarding is not. Guarding has a build-up, and you cannot guard cancel out of everything.
Right.
the fact that item, like, you can't, especially with Cloud, you can't switch to Punisher mode in the middle of your combo.
Yeah.
Which you would, like, that feels like a Devil May Cry thing.
That's a Devil May Cry thing.
Like, being able to automatically do that. The fact that items aren't free. I think items should have been free.
I feel like it would break the game, honestly. Especially once you start getting into later, where it's like, you're getting tons of mega potions, more than you know what to do with. There's
two things I would have switched then.
Okay.
Spellcasting should have come with iframes, or at least you can't get knocked out of spellcasting.
Oh my god, there needs to be more iframes in this game.
Or items needed to be free.
Okay, that's...
Because the way it's set up both is it's super easy to get punished when you have no other option.
Yeah, I definitely think the game, there's not enough iframes in dodging, and that still holds up from the last time we talked about this. There's not enough iframes in dodging. You should have iframes at least partially, maybe not during the wind-up, like during the, you know how spellcasting has like a warm-up, like before the spell pops off?
Yeah.
Probably no iframes during that, because that's part of the strategy, is figuring out the timing. But once the spell pops off, you should absolutely get iframes.
Yeah, 100%, because, like, I can't count the number of times that I got knocked out of a heal.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Because I got, and it ate my ATB, my bar.
Yeah. Honestly, if I had to change anything, it's that if you get interrupted, like, during the heat, like, the warm-up portion of a spell, you shouldn't lose ATB.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that's the one thing that could be like a compromise. Like, instead of giving you instead of giving you iframes, or instead of making items free, it's just that if you get interrupted during the casting phase when the spell hasn't technically popped off, then you should not lose that ATB or that MP charge. Like, that'd be the easiest thing. Also, the fact that you're not invincible during limit breaks is horseshit.
It's absolutely horseshit.
It's dog shit.
It's
the one truly bad thing about this combat system.
I was like, I was stunned when I got knocked out in the middle of performing a limit break.
Yeah. The point of limit breaks is that they're super attacks that let you get an edge in combat. You should not be receiving damage in the middle of your cool, flashy super move.
And summons have iframes.
Yeah! What's that about?
I don't understand, like...
I don't understand. This is, although I think that this is basically the best combat that's like a action JRPG has had in a long time, and it's definitely like the format that Final Fantasy should probably just follow for like the next installment or two. Even though I think it's good, it's also very clearly made by people who have never made an action game before. It's like, and that's weird though, because I mean, like, you know, they made Kingdom Hearts, but I don't really know like all the rules of Kingdom Hearts iframes and stuff like that.
I mean, Kingdom Hearts has like, well, except I think it got patched, but like normally Kingdom Hearts has like a really, really just intuitive dodging and blocking system.
Right.
Like,
yeah,
you press the button, you block the attack, and what's really nice is that in 2 and 3 is that if you block a combo, he'll just hold that block until the combo is up.
Oh, okay.
You know, like there are some where like, you know, where the enemy will pause and you have to re-block. But like if you're getting hit with like a multi-hit attack and you just block it, then you've blocked it.
Right. Okay.
But like this one, and there are certain things in Kingdom Hearts, like in Kingdom Hearts 3, using your form changes, you know, when you change the Keyblade into a different weapon. Those are invincible. You can't be attacked in those. And those were used, especially in the Data Org fights in Remind.
To just cheese it.
Yeah, those were really good for like, they're doing their super attack. All right, form change.
Yeah, just cheese it.
I'm gonna skip that.
Right, I'm not gonna deal with that. Yeah.
Or you summon
weird.
Ariel, and because the Ariel summon is that you dive underwater and you know reemerge, you can use those as iframes and dodge everything.
Right, and it's like, I don't know. It just feels... It's so close. The feeling is that it's so close is what you ultimately get. And for the most part, like, these are nitpicks. For the most part, I think this game feels great to play and just enjoy. I really like the fighting in this game. And honestly, I think, like, because I am so high level now, maybe I will tackle hard mode, because, like, level cap is 50. And once I hit the 50 level cap after playing through this game again, it's like, I don't know, I probably could play it on hard mode, and at least in the beginning. I mean, you would basically, even on hard, you would chew through the early game. Mm-hmm. Probably all the way up until, like, chapter 10, you'd just chew through it because of how high level you are. I don't know, might be interesting.
It's because most of the core gameplay feels so good that these smaller things really stand out. Yeah. Because it goes against what you would expect a dev like this to do. Mm-hmm. Like, summons being invincible, but limits being not. Like, limits should be invincible. You cannot move. You cannot cancel them.
Right, yeah.
Like, the mercy of it is that, and because you have to build up your bar for it, it's kind of almost like a desperation move in of itself, because you have to take damage to use them.
Yeah. I feel like maybe even if you could just cancel out of more animations, like cancel out of summon and stuff, like, not summon, like out of spellcasting animations and out of limit breaks, then the lack of iframes and stuff would be acceptable, because at least then you have a way to get away. I don't know. There's so many ways you could tweak it to make it feel a little bit more balanced. As it is, it's just a matter of knowing to put a lot of space between yourself and your opponent, and guarding until you can really get that one moment to land a big attack.
Right.
So you just have to play it really, really safe and smart, I guess. Which is not really a drawback. It's just not how I would prefer it to be, if that makes sense. It's
just not what you feel should be right. Yeah, like what you... Like, the other thing I realize is that, I don't know if it's just me or not, but I think guarding slows down your ATB meter.
I've never noticed. I never paid attention. Maybe.
I couldn't tell. To me, if anything, it should be faster. Like, it should be 1.25 times faster for guarding.
Right.
You know, because you're guarding, you're holding the line, you're biding your time, you know, and especially when you're in those moments where it's like, two of your party members are down, you have no bar, and you don't have the HP to get in.
Right.
Like, you have to kind of wander around the battlefield until you can hopefully hopefully you can pop a Phoenix down on someone.
And just pray.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Yeah, that's true. I don't know. It's just so, I don't know. I wouldn't even say it's necessarily bad. It's just not how I'm used to playing games like this.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I think there are tweaks that could be made to make it seem more fair.
There is one other big thing that I really wish they would have included.
What's that?
And that is, you really, really should be able to switch materia in battle. Because... no, and hear me out.
Okay.
I noticed this with the elemental materia. Because there are areas in this game where you're fighting enemies, and the enemies in those dungeons will be... Some of them will be weak to a certain element, and some will be immune to it.
Right.
Incentivizing you to equip, like, your elemental materia for those weak enemies, right? Like, you're fighting a bunch of robots, they're all weak to thunder, so you equip the thunder materia to your, you know, the elemental and use that. But then you'll fight enemies in that same area that are either, like, immune or reduce damage on it, and you have no way of swapping out of that.
I mean, in that case, the answer is just swap to a different character and micromanage that the ineffective character to become just a caster. Because the deal is that the reason why I don't think they make you swap, or they let you swap materia mid-combat, kind of like how Tales lets you swap weapons mid-combat. The reason I don't think they do that is because, and I noticed this, and at first it was a thing that I thought was a detractor of the game, but then I thought about it more, and I was like, no, wait, that's actually smart, because of how this game is made. So in the original Final Fantasy, all materia decreased your attack. Like, all elemental materia decreased your physical attack by, like, a little teeny tiny %, but it also increased your magic attack by a little teeny tiny %.
Right.
In the remake, it doesn't do that. All it does is gives you an extra point of MP, right? So, you're not being punished for having as much fucking materia on every character as humanly possible.
Okay, like, that is true.
There are certain materia that give you more bonuses, like barrier materia and stuff like that. Barrier, revive, and there's like 2 others that give you a ton more bonuses because they're like higher tier materia. But in general, like all of your standard attack materia, so fire, ice, lightning, and air, none of those penalize you for having them attached. So basically, and because the game, I don't know if you've noticed this, the game hands out material like candy.
It really does.
The game gives you so much damn materia. Okay. So basically it's telling you everybody in your party should have like at least 2 different types of elemental attacks on them. And then everybody should have a heal or a healing adjacent, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so once you understand that, like, this is what the game is asking of you and telling you, basically, it becomes like, oh, okay, now I understand. Like, if an enemy resists that one, well, that's fine. You have a backup element to also attack with, you know?
Also, like, you can add more materia slots to your weapons.
Yes, you can, amazing. Which means you can do an only Buster Sword run, which I'm going to attempt. Which is great. I think you can ultimately add... Buster Sword starts with 2. I think you can get Buster Sword up to 5.
I know everything gets at least 2 you can add.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if
some give you 3 or 4.
Yeah.
I know that some of Barrett's late game weapons and some of Aerith's late game weapons can give you up to 4 extra materia slots. It's crazy.
Which is weird because Barrett is not a spellcaster in this game at all.
What? No, but he's a good secondary spellcaster. Versus Aerith, because he is a backline. He's 100
super long range.
He's super long. If Barrett is close up, you've got the wrong weapon on him.
Talk about like that. I got the wrecking ball for him.
Uh-huh.
And I put it on him because I wanted to see what it's like, you know, because I was also curious, like, how do all of his abilities work?
Right.
If he has and the answer is they shoot.
They shoot for some reason, but don't worry about it.
And so I'm like, okay, so what's his basic attack? Oh, his combo sucks.
His combo sucks. Yeah.
Like, it's absolutely... his 3-hit combo is absolutely terrible. It is the slowest I have ever seen a character attack in an action game.
Yeah, if Barrett is up close and personal, then you've done something wrong.
His 3rd hit, his like double-fisted ground pound, it takes like 5 seconds.
It's so bad.
It's bad.
Very bad. There we go. I had to take my glasses off. They're starting to give me a headache. But yeah, no, because Barrett is a backline fighter, as much of a character can like be a backline fighter in this iteration of Final Fantasy VII, he isn't like the best caster. Obviously, that's Aerith. But if you need a backup, then like, yeah, absolutely. Saddle Barrett with a bunch. If you just need somebody to hammer something with its elemental weakness, then absolutely just saddle Barrett with a ton of different fucking... Giving him MP up materia and give him the magic up materia. And just tell him to go to town. And see, I mean, it works.
I did end up, like, even though his magic stat is terrible.
Bad. Horrible.
I still ended up doing it because Cloud and Tifa really needed other, like stat materia. You know?
They need their support materia. They need their attack materia. They need stuff like chakra because they are going to be in the thick of it more often. So, like, Cloud and Tifa, who are taking damage more often, should be, like, having stuff like chakra on them, things that let them instantly recover a lot of HP quickly, especially if they take a lot of damage. So you start kind of understanding like the rhythm. It's not so much that Barrett is a good magic caster, but what he is an excellent support caster.
Yeah.
And that's great. You start to kind of really understand, like, once you get the rhythm and you see how you should be doing it, it just feels so damn good.
It really does.
It's just the best. Oh man, it's
like
the best.
Like, aside from all these nitpicking things that are just stuff that we inherited from playing character action games and Kingdom Hearts, like, beyond that, like, it just, everything, like, it feels so good. Boy, it feels so good to swing the sword with Cloud.
Oh man, being able to switch to Punisher mode feels amazing. Like once you really have like the window to switch to Punisher mode.
When your enemy is staggered and you switch to Punisher mode and it's just you and Tifa just bullying this character.
To town. Oh, it's the best. It's amazing.
Just MKX style when all the Revenants are kicking Raiden in the ribs while he's down.
Yeah, it's perfect. Oh my god.
So, I don't know, I didn't notice it or what, but when you level up a materia to max, do you get a free one?
No, you do not. No. Because it also does not take nearly as long to... No. I mean, obviously, because this is just the first part. Like, in Final Fantasy VII, like the original, the understanding was that you would have these chunks of materia for the full run of a 70-hour game. Okay, well, actually, FF7 is not that long.
It's like
people like to say
50.
It's like 40 to 50.
On your like, the remake part 1 takes about, like, if you've played Final Fantasy VII like once or twice and you play through it now, it's going to be the same length.
Yeah,
like,
it's really not that long. But, I mean, the understanding is still that you are going to be playing with this specific chunk of materia for the full runtime, and it's a much slower growth. So materia levels up really, really fast in this game. And so because of that, and because they also, like I said, by the way, if you play a New Game Plus, you just get, like, you know how Jesse gives you that piece of healing materia after the bombing run? Mm-hmm. You just get that piece of materia again.
Oh, good.
Over and over again, if you wanted to. Yeah.
Good.
So you'll just have dupes of everything eventually. So yeah, it's fine. Like, you don't get duplicates that way, but there are other ways.
Yeah.
To just keep getting the same chunks of materia over and over again. So, yeah. Plus, I mean, like I said, everything levels up so... I mean, you'll hit... I mean, like, you gotta think, in the original FF7, you were hitting Thundara, for example, at around Corel. Mm-hmm. And you would hit Thundaga at around, like, Northern Cave. So, you're hitting Thundaga in FF7 Remake in Midgar.
And
in Midgar.
We'll talk about this later, but I have a theory about how they're going to handle that going forward.
I'm so fascinated about how they're going to handle that going forward. But you're right, that's later. But no, you don't get spare pieces.
Yeah. So, yeah, the gameplay is amazing. Also, just walking around Midgar is spectacular. I've heard people say that this is like a Yakuza game, and they're totally right.
It is 100% a Yakuza. I've never even played a Yakuza game, but I know how those games work.
It captures that feeling of walking around just like a section of a big city, and you have the whole part to walk around, and you're walking around the slums, and you're seeing people selling bootleg merchandise out of like their stands, and there's like
food trucks.
there's food trucks. They're all playing music, and you can pick up records and stuff, and you're seeing all these like NPCs that look really good.
Yeah. I mean, their textures are a little compared to the main cast, but it's fine. I'm hoping down the line. I think that some of the texture issues, because obviously Cloud's low-res door has become kind of a meme for this game. That's an Unreal 4. That's an Unreal 4 glitch. Unreal 4 has an issue with texture loading. Like, that's not just... I mean, that's actually a holdover from Unreal 3, because everybody remembers from Mass Effect how bad the texture pop-in that game is. And how bad the texture pop-in in BioShock is. Both those games run off of UE. So it's really just I think it's a problem within the engine itself. It's something how the game handles texture loading. So I'm hoping a patch will come down eventually that will up some of these NPC textures, because they're really bad compared to the main cast.
Or, when the PC port comes out eventually.
Oh, I'm so excited for the PC port, because I will buy it.
I will buy it too.
I will buy it because it's going to be so sick to have an incredibly high-res version of FF7.
Because
running on an SSD.
Also, because they're going to get mods so you can put Cloud and the girls in their dresses. Just
Thank
the entire
God.
game. Like, yes. That's going to be the first mod out.
The first mod will be Tifa's boobs. The second mod will be running around in costumes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the third mob will be Aerith's boobs out.
Of course, obviously.
Of course. I've been on the Nexus. I know how those degenerates work. Come on.
We've had to wade through the swamp that is the Fallout 4 Nexus to find good mods.
We know how these people are. It's fine. But yeah, no, it's just the walking around of Midgar is just for me, personally. Just like, because I mean, like, you know, I've said before, Final Fantasy VII was kind of like the game that made it all click, right?
Right.
And so, like, for me, I had a huge come apart playing this game at least 3 times when, like, I was in an area and, like, there was music playing and I was like, oh my god! And I just started, like, boo-hooing just because I was so overcome with, like, nostalgia. And yeah, no, it was incredible. Just because, like, I think I was texting you about how I've never really had the opportunity for a game to recreate what I thought it looked like in my head. Mm-hmm. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like when you're a kid and you're playing, I mean, I was 11, 12, maybe 13? I think I was about 12 when I played Final Fantasy VII. When you're a kid and you play it and you see, like, those pre-rendered backgrounds and stuff, your brain kind of fills in the details, and understands that there's really more. There's more on the screen than what you're seeing, you know, and you do all that work and you kind of let your imagination do the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
And then, you know, years later, the remake comes out, and it's just so wild to actually have a game, like, replicate kind of what you saw in your head all those years ago. And it's just like, oh my god, it is exactly the way, like, it's exactly the way it should look.
Yeah.
It's just like, everything is, I mean, that's the crazy thing, is that so many times, and I've seen it on Twitter, a lot of people are saying, like, it is crazy how often this game adheres to, like, slavish attention to detail. Just the little things, like, certain buildings in Sector 7, like the slums, are exactly the way they should look. And, like, the weapon shop. The only thing that sucks about the weapon shop is you can't go upstairs to the inn, which I'm just, like, so mad about.
The weapon shop in Walmart has the malfunctioning turret.
Yeah, that's the item shop. It's the item dispenser. That
the item dispenser.
If you try to use the item dispenser, the malfunctioning turret will shoot at you. It's all of these little details that, like, they just so slavishly recreate. The fact that there are lines that are lifted verbatim from the original translation when they didn't have to do that because it was an opportunity to have a new translation, because Final Fantasy VII's translation is kind of famously bad. They had the opportunity and they still were like, no, the translation people remember from 20 years ago is what's important. And they actually brought some of those lines over, which is just, what?
To me, that, and we'll get more into this into the plot discussion, but to me, this really feels like they made a game for people who played the original first, without it feeling like pandering.
No, it's definitely not pandering. It's because, like, I think some of the emotional beats will be lost on you, but I think you can play Final Fantasy VII Remake without having played the original. It's just that you're getting a new, completely bonkers story.
Yeah.
But you can still play it, but I think some of the emotional resonance comes from having specifically played the original 20 years ago. Right.
And I feel like what will end up happening is that, like, the certain moments will feel different whether or not you know the context behind them.
Right.
Otherwise, like, you'll feel a different wondering about it compared to if you kind of know what's going on.
Right. Yeah.
But like all these little things, like how good Wall Market looks, how well crafted, like, the church is, how, like...
Oh, you want to know the moment I just kind of, like, knew? Like, there's a lot of moments where I was like, oh, they get it. But there's such a specific tiny detail that made me just go like, oh my god, they've probably been reading forums for the last 6 years while making this game, or 5 years since they announced it in 2015. You can go down the slide.
Yes!
You can go down the cat slide. You couldn't go down the cat slide in the original game, but everybody I know tried. Mm-hmm. Like, that's a joke. That was something I saw on Twitter, is that people were like, I've been waiting 20 years to do this. but you can go down the cat slide in the remake, and it's like, they know. They understand. They got it. They got that this is actually, like, it's a weird thing, but it's a thing people really tried to do. I mean, I tried to do it.
Yeah, I did too. And I'm betting that's like a Mandela effect thing.
Sure.
It's like, can you, like, ask someone, can you go down the cat slide in Final Fantasy VII?
Right, and somebody will be like, yeah, sure. No, you can't.
No, you can climb the ladder, but you cannot go down the slide.
You, for some reason, cannot go down the cat slide. And also, this is such a small thing, but it is kind of a theory I have about video games, is this idea that mostly useless spaces still serve a purpose. Like, a space in a video game doesn't necessarily have to have a purpose. Mm-hmm. But it can still exist as a space. This is weird. But it can still exist as a space and be important because somebody will project onto it. Mm-hmm. And when I was a kid, there were a lot of spaces like that in video games that really didn't have, like, a purpose. Maybe they had, like, a chest in them or something.
Right.
Or, like, you could get a heart container in Zelda. But, like, ultimately they were mostly just, like, useless space. They were there for flavor. And I think flavor space is really important in video games. And I say this because when I was a kid, for some reason I was fascinated by the service shed in that park. Maybe because it was like the fact that it was like a really blatant door and I couldn't go into it. Mm-hmm. And I was always like, why is this shed here? Can I open this up? And is there like a chest inside? Of course not. It's just there because it's just a shed in the middle of a park, you know?
Yeah.
It's just there for flavor. But that shed is there in FF7 Remake. That shed is literally in the exact same spot that it is in the original. And I don't know why, but something about that, I was just like, oh man. 10-year-old me would just be ecstatic right now. Yeah, stuff like that. I mean, it's such small, stupid details, but getting the small, stupid details right is what makes it feel like there's an actual heart. And yeah. I mean, we know that games like this and Resident Evil 2 were made by people who played the originals when they were kids.
Right.
And it's like, oh yeah, like those little things that normal people wouldn't care about. Like, capturing those teeny tiny things is almost more important than the big stuff.
Yeah, the things that not just the big events, but the things that made this game stick with you for so long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, it would be like not just like recreating that sense of wonderment, and
it's Barrett calling the upper plate that damn pizza.
Yeah.
And they kept that line. They kept Barrett calling it a pizza for some stupid reason, even though that was just the result of a dumb translation from 1998. I mean, but it made sense too, because Midgar is a circle divided into 8 pieces. That's a pizza. It's a medium pizza. But it's stupid, but like, you play it and it's such a ridiculous line that it sticks with you for 20 years, and you get back to it and you're on the train leaving the bombing run, and that's exactly what Barrett calls it, and you're like, oh man, they actually give a shit. That's awesome. And they for real give a shit.
And it's really great, especially when you consider stuff that came later in the compilation. Like when you compare this to Advent Children, for instance.
Right.
Which, as much as I like Advent Children, it is definitely a victim of modernization.
Sure, absolutely.
When you look at what Midgar looks like, compared to how it looks in the remake.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, it's so much more modernized in Advent Children, and one of the big tip-offs that it was like, oh, they totally understand the aesthetic. And I've been texting Ben about this like over and over as I replay this game. I'm like, they got the cars right. It was so vital to me that they got the cars right, because the cars, like the Hardy Daytona and that stupid truck that they drive, that Tifa drives in the escape sequence, is like, you see those cars and they're so old-fashioned. Every single car in this game is from like the 1930s, 40s, and 50s. Like they're really like the 30s and 40s is the aesthetic they're going for.
It's funny because, like, it almost took me out to see,
really?
Like, in the middle of Midgar, to see, like, that's just a regular car. That's not, like, a sci-fi materia car. That's just a car. But
I mean, like, all of the cars in that game are, like, they're old cars. The thing about FF7's aesthetic is that it's this weird hybrid of diesel and cyberpunk kind of, like, smashed together. And, like, the idea is that it is, like, a weird turn-of-the-century industrial revolution thing going on. So, of course, like, it should be, like, this aesthetic should be from when, like, the explosion of industrialization is really taking over.
Right.
Like, all the trains in FF7 are super old-looking, and they kept that, and they kept all of that, I mean, like, you look at the fashion of the NPCs and stuff walking around the upper plate, and all of the like the dresses and stuff are those big high-waisted wide skirt dresses that are really emblematic of the 1940s, and it's like, oh fuck, they got it.
It's that beta thing of this game was supposed to be set in New York.
It's supposed to be set in New York. It was supposed to be set in like an analog time period that we understand. So, of course, they kept that, but they pushed the timeline back to 1940s. So, like, in the intro, there's a bunch of kids riding on bikes, and the kids are wearing newsy caps and
suits, that part
and suits with their elbows that have patches. And I was just like, yes, they know!
Oh, that was so good to see!
Oh my god, it's so... Also, the fact that even though Square Enix basically threw out all of the work CyberConnect did because it was trash. They basically trashed all of it. They kept the shot from the original 2015 trailer of the girl going down the slide and then looking at the reactor as the sky lights up. That is from the original 2015 remake trailer. Like, that is shot for shot the exact same shot.
It's such a good shot, too.
Because it's such a cool transition to, like, have those sparks go up in the air and then fade into the original Final Fantasy VII intro with Aerith down in the alley. And it's like, oh man, that new intro is so good because you get a really good sense. Because you don't spend a lot of time on the upper plate in this game. And I'm really hoping in whatever fucking part it is, part 3 maybe, when we return to Midgar, we'll maybe spend more time on the upper plate. I don't know, because obviously priorities will have to shift for the next parts.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping we see more of the upper plate, because the reason they kept those shots in the new intro is clearly just because they wanted to show off, like this is what Upper Midgar looks like. It's this cool combination of turn-of-the-century aesthetics and completely modernized, like, very big. Having, like, now been to Tokyo, a lot of that shit is just like, oh, okay, they're just making what they know. And, like, that whole blending of aesthetics and different, like, looks and concepts is so, like, it's so... You don't see it a lot, even in JRPGs these days. Like, for example, all of the towns in every Tales game for, like, the last 6 Tales games have been, like, dog shit, right?
Right.
As much as I love Tales games, after Dawngrist, it was just a slow slide down, y'all. Even though, like, Berseria is really good, every town in Berseria is, like, the least imaginative thing possible.
Berseria is one of my favorite Tales games, and its towns suck.
They are all the most dull, like, standard, boring fucking,
not to drag on him, but the fact that every port in Exilia looks exactly the same.
Exactly fucking same. And I get it. It's also that, like, they have way less of a budget on their hands versus your fucking Final Fantasies. But still, like, there could be some unique designs going on here, guys.
But hey, guess what? Vesperia did that by locking the camera in place. So you could only see the city from one angle. And guess what?
Really cool.
They used pre-rendered backgrounds to make it look bigger. Kind of like Final Fantasy.
Oh my god, it's amazing. Free camera is sometimes a bad thing, guys. But, you know, like, and in, like, a lot of JRPGs these days, towns are kind of dog shit. Because it's not really the focus. The focus is getting out there and playing the actual, like, video game part of the video game. And adventuring and exploring and finding shit and blah, blah, blah. So it's just weird to me to have a game like Final Fantasy VII Remake come out and be like, oh, that's right, back in the day, JRPGs used to have, like, really crazy high concept locations because that was kind of the point, was to make you feel like you were living in another world, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, so it's so good is what I'm saying. And, like, that's the whole point of, like, the shots of, like, the upper plate and stuff like that. Is just this whole establishing, like, you are in another fucking place, y'all.
And when you are getting segments to walk around in like, in the slums and everything, like, you really are getting the feeling, because they put in the work to do so, that you're only exploring one part of this whole area, you know?
It's a JPEG, but the shot of the Sector 4 slums when you're doing the second bombing run, you're going to bomb Sector 5, and you're up in those catwalks, and you look down, and there's just, like, miles of slum beneath you. That's a JPEG, and that took my breath away.
Yeah.
Because it helps you understand the scope.
Right, exactly. Like, the part in Sector 7 that you're allowed to walk around in, what, Chapter 3, when you're doing the side quests?
Yeah.
Like, that's just one part. That's just
teeny tiny square.
A little segment of it, and the game does such a good job of enforcing that.
So it's just, you really start to feel like, oh, this is like a place. It's like a city where tons, I mean, I think they said 50,000 people live below the plate in Sector 7. So that means another probably, I don't know, 20,000 live on top. So that's 70,000 approximately in every sector. That's a big fucking city.
That's a country.
That's a big fucking city, y'all. And stuff like that is just so, like, oh, it's so cool. It's so cool. You just really get the sense of just, like, how cool it is. And how alive Midgar finally feels.
Like, 560,000 people in Midgar. That's not a small number.
And it's Midgar is still, like, God, it probably, that honestly, you say it out loud, that's probably a small number. I mean, Tokyo has 10 million people in it. God, Tokyo has too many fucking people in it. That's another thing. But, like, that's probably, you know, I bet it's more like 100,000 per sector. I don't know. But, like, it's a lot is the point I'm trying to make. And, like, you really get the sense that, like, this is, like, a real... And you understand then why the game is set entirely in Midgar. Is because... And this is the thing we talked about, I don't remember in what episode, but we've talked about it before, and it's the thing I've said before, is that Midgar is... It is, like, the most memorable location in Final Fantasy VII. Hands down.
Definitely. No one cares about Calm.
Who the fuck cares about Calm and Junon? Can you tell me anything? That's not true. There actually is the cool bar that the Turks drink out in Junon. So I can't actually say that. But, like, you know, who cares about Calm? People kind of like Costa del Sol because it has, like, a cool track. But, like, what you remember the most of this game, visually, aesthetically, is the thing that establishes what kind of a game you're playing. It's Midgar. And so it makes sense. And, I mean, originally the plan for this game, like you said, was to set the whole thing in fucking New York City. So, like, it makes sense to really grow Midgar outwards and make people understand that this is, like, it is the hub. It is where everything happens in the world of Final Fantasy VII. Like, it is the most important place in the world. It's where everybody lives. It's where all of the decisions that determine the rest of your fucking life in Costa del Sol, all of the decisions that determine your life there happen in Midgar. It is the most important place in the world. And so that's why it's a big deal when someone drops a fucking meteor on it at the end of the game and completely disrupts the entire established order. It's kind of an important thing. So it makes sense then to build an entire game around Midgar so you really, really get the sense of what kind of place this is.
Letting you explore it, letting you see different parts of it, parts that you didn't see in the base game, letting you spend 40 hours in it.
Yep.
It's like, it totally makes sense now.
Yeah. Oh my god. It makes so much sense now. I am fascinated to see how they're going to handle every other town in this game.
Yeah. 100%.
For the remake.
There was a part of me playing this where I'm like, what if they just set the entire series in Midgar? Like,
oh, that would kick ass. Are you kidding me?
What if we don't actually leave the city at the end of this? And I was like, I was thinking, like, we explore three parts of 3 sectors of Midgar. We don't even go to 5 of the sectors in this game.
Oh, I know. It's crazy.
And that includes top and bottom. Like, there's so much more we could explore. So honestly, they could have done it.
You could have set the whole game in Midgar, but I think some of the more interesting things happen because of the contrast between overdeveloped and completely and totally underdeveloped. I mean, that's what the Northern Crater is. What is the Northern Crater if not the ultimate, like, contrast to Midgar? It is also kind of at the center of the world, very literally, because it's at the poles, and it's cold and desolate. No one fucking lives there. But it is also the center of the world in another meaningful way, because it's where, like, Genova fell. So there's thematic reasons. But I also think it would be extremely cool if you set the whole game in Midgar, because Midgar is cool.
Yeah.
But, hey, we're leaving. That happened. So we'll see what happens. Fuck. We'll see how this game ends.
So before we go into...
before that's hell we walk into?
Before the plot we go into, is there anything else just non-story related you want to talk about?
I feel like I could just keep talking forever about aesthetic things.
Best OST.
Oh god, OST is so good. OST is so just immaculate.
I cannot wait for the soundtrack to come out so that I can get clean versions of the remixes that you can get, the album remixes.
Oh, I know.
I am so excited to get to, like, actually get the soundtrack for this game.
The jazzy version of Tifa's theme is, like, one of my favorites of, like, all of the albums you can find. Like, the jazzy version of Tifa's theme is so much fun, and I love it. This is
gonna sound like a bad thing, but I mean it as a good thing.
Okay.
The fact that every album has its own unique custom artwork that has its own aesthetic and, like, style and was clearly done by different artists reminds me of the Homestuck albums where they would gather fan art.
I get it,
for
though.
for like saying. Each song cover, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And it was just this great celebration of, like, a community coming together, because the songs were written by someone, the art was done by someone else, and it was all put together as one album.
Yeah.
And that tickled the exact same parts of my brain when I saw that every album had, like, its own unique cover.
Yeah, I totally get you. Yeah. They're so good, and they're so, like, you're right. I want full versions of every one of those songs, because they're loops. And I would really like to see the clean version. Yeah,
and you can only hear them through, like, the scratchy vinyl player, and it's like, no, I want to hear all of it.
I want all of it. And also the inclusion of the cool scrappy vinyl players and the jukeboxes and the vending machines that play music is all just so, like, again, hitting that aesthetic super, super hard that I love. One of the things I sent Saturn from Big A Nerds kind of shares my aesthetic love of weird hybridizations of modern concepts like CD players or like compact music players and also gramophones. Like, if you can smash those two things together, that gets us extremely excited. And so I literally sent Saturn a picture of the desktop gramophone that's in the item shop in Sector 7. It's the first time you see one. And I was like, look at this! And they were like, oh my god! I know, I got so excited just because it was like, they understand. They know exactly what kind of aesthetic I want this game to have. They know! I can't believe it! That's such a specific thing to be able to hit, but you did it! I love that. Oh, I do have one other thing, because we kind of mentioned it briefly, but I want to talk about the story, so we're just going to get this out of the way here, right now. Okay. Hey! Every boss fight except for the human bosses has too many goddamn phases.
It really, like, every boss in every dungeon is like 20% too big.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, you could shave a little bit off of all of those. Like, come on, guys.
It got to a specific point in every single one where I'm like, I need to get out of here.
Like, wrap this up. Come on. Every fucking, the best example of, like, when it's like, okay, this is too much, is you go through the collapsed highway and you do the puzzle where you move the hands. I mean, the fact that they turn the hands into, like, a puzzle is kind of weird in and of itself. I'm just like, the hand, like, the thing is that the hand didn't work, and it was, like, a weird, like, oh my god, look at how big this building thing was, you know? Like, it's broken. Like, it fell off of something even bigger, is the thing. And they turn it into a puzzle, and I'm like, ugh. But then you do it twice, and you're like, okay, that's fine, that was easy, we'll move on. And then you do it for a third time, and that's the exact moment I went, okay, guys, come on. Granted, it's the last one, but still.
Right.
I get that you're trying to hit, like, that 30-hour mark to make it worth it, but you could shave a couple hours of just, like,
You could shave that off and maybe put in another side quest instead.
Yeah, give me more side quests instead. I would way prefer that over long dungeons. There's just too many screens. Basically, every dungeon has approximately one or two too many areas. It's like, yeah, you can scale that back. It's fine.
And then a lot of these boss fights also have, like, okay, you should be dead by now.
You should be dead by now. I have hammered on you so hard that you should be dead by now. The only ones that isn't a case are the human boss fights. And there aren't enough of those human boss fights. But I mean, that's how it is in all video games, right? A dude walking towards you slowly is obviously the best boss fight in the game. There's three of those, right?
There's I almost said Virgil. Rude, Rufus, and Reno. So 3,
okay. I got it drilled into your head. It's true. We'll talk about that in a second, but I'm right.
Oh no, 4. Roche.
Oh yeah, Roche. Roche is just a Devil May Cry boss.
Yeah.
But
damn it, that's another R name. Stop doing this.
I don't know. Why do all of the Shinra guys have R names? Because you have Roche, Reno, Rude, Reeve, and Rufus. That's 5.
It's so confusing.
It's really weird.
Because they're all, like, short 1 or 2 syllable names and usually 4 to 5 letters long. And 2 of them start with R-E and 2 of them start with R-U.
No, Roche is R-O.
Yeah, no, but Rude and Rufus.
Yeah.
And Reeve and Reno.
That's just confusing, guys. Chill out. Why does everybody have R names? That's just not a thing. That's just something nobody thought of when they made this game 20 years ago. They're like, whatever, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because the game, it was written, like, I don't even think they think about it. The names are written in kanji. They're like, that's completely different pronunciations.
Yeah.
And then you stick those names in English, and we're like, those are the same. Those are the exact same.
But no, like, beyond the human bosses, like, all of the, like, I was really excited when, hey, you know what was a fun thing for me to see, speaking of, like, things I know are important?
Hell House!
When Hell House showed up.
Hell House is too fucking long.
It's too long. I didn't want to get sick of fighting Hell House.
No, you never want to get sick of fighting Hell House, but by the end of Hell House, I was like, come on.
It's like, please die.
Please just die. I've been in this... That fight takes like 12 minutes. That's long for a boss fight in a video game, y'all. That's like my one huge complaint is that, like, it is the only thing. If they change that, and again, that does kind of get improved a little bit if you're playing it on easy/classic. Because which boss fight did I do on? think I did the crab boss on the way to Sector 5. I did that on easy. Mm-hmm. Not because I was having a hard time with the game, but more so because I just wanted to try out all the different modes.
Right.
Like, that's like the one thing that really is deeply improved by easy mode is that, like, boss fights are over in, like, a sane amount of time. But you have to keep tweaking the difficulty back and forth because, like, standard encounters are way too short then. Like, they're over too fast. That's, like, my one complaint about this game is that the non-human boss fights take way too fucking long.
Yeah.
Like, come on. They don't need to be this dramatic. It's fine. Please. But other than that,
I have one very, very minor complaint.
Sure.
And then one more note about the gameplay. So my minor complaint is why can you only buy items in sets of 9, but they don't actually limit how many you can buy?
I don't know. Why can't you buy things like you can in Tales games, where instead of having to buy one item at a time, you know how in Tales games you can just, like, select your quantities, and at the very bottom you press the buy option?
Mm-hmm.
Why haven't more JRPGs adopted that? I don't understand. It's the year of our Lord 2020.
Like,
and you can't do it in FF7.
This should be, like, the norm. I don't get it. Like, I wanted to buy 15 items.
Yeah, why are you making me buy 9 and then 6? Okay.
It's so weird.
It's just weird. But I get what you're saying. It is weird, you know.
The other thing I noticed about gameplay is the thing I had to get used to playing this compared to Kingdom Hearts is that Kingdom Hearts 3, you're in the air 70% of the time.
Oh, yeah. That's a game where you fly. Literally.
This game, the game is reluctant to get you in the air.
Oh, I wish there was a jump button. I wish you could just press up and guard. Again, like in Tales games. Hey, if you're gonna get an action RPG, maybe go play a fucking Tales game. Because, you know, in Tales you press guard and up, and that lets you jump. I wish there was some way to jump more consistently in this game, like, other than, like, pressing the attack button and praying.
They don't even let you use, like, abilities or spells in the air, which would really come in handy for certain enemies, like the helicopter guys.
Right. Like, you should be able to at least maybe not the abilities, because the animation would be weird, but, like, you should be able to cast midair.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's magic. You don't have to explain shit. It's fine.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
But yeah, that was like the only other two things. Like, I just thought that was kind of interesting that, like, they really don't want you in the air.
They don't want you flying around. This isn't Kingdom Hearts bullshit until it is.
Yeah. So, do you want to talk about story stuff now?
Is there anything else we need to talk about before we get started? HQ fucking big, but we'll talk. I guess that kind of ties into story, but I can't get over it. I think about it a lot. I have, like, those screenshots on my PS4 where I'm like, wow, I really didn't understand the scale of things as a kid, but now I'm an adult and I can, like, see these things against, like, realistically proportioned people, and I'm like, oh, right, city big, real fucking big, okay. Yeah, that's it. I'm good.
All right,
story.
So
this is spoiler time now. We've been talking already for an hour, non-spoilers. So
let's go quick. Let's go through our predictions first.
Ooh,
and we'll see if we got those right or wrong.
They were all wrong.
So, my first one was a totally original character will temporarily join the party. Didn't get that one right.
Didn't get that one right.
Nope. You had somebody who isn't normally in Midgar will show up in some degree. Assuming you specifically meant, like, the party members, like right. Sid, Vincent, Yuffie. We did see Kate Sith.
I kind of got that one. I'm taking that W, man.
Yeah,
you can't take
I'm gonna count that because we did see Kate Sith.
In the most awkward cameo ever. The worst time for a character that I despise to show up. I'm really having a moment about Sector 7 right now, and you show me this fucking cat thing. Reeve, can you only be sad if you're in your fursona? I don't know.
I am very curious why that was put there.
I don't understand. Maybe Nomura just really wanted to show off the Kate Sith model.
I mean, it did look really good. Like,
it does look good. It's
I'll be honest,
cute.
That he did a good job of, like, I guess all the teamwork they did on modeling Disney characters paid off because Kate Sith looks real good. I'm really, really hoping, this is unrelated, but I'm really, really hoping in 7 proper they do the Advent Children thing and just fold Red and Kate Sith into the same character.
Yeah, where Kate Sith just rides on Red instead.
Do a Midna Wolflink thing.
Yeah, and just because that way you just mostly because trying to control that giant Moogle thing, I can already see in my head like that, because like it has kind of like a bouncy movement and it sucks. I feel like trying to control that in my head would be bad because it'd be very slow. Trying
to imagine that thing moving about in real space.
Yeah, and not like video game space.
I don't know how its animations would even work.
It takes up that thing will take up a lot of space, like even more than Barrett. Barrett's a big guy.
I would really love to just put him on Kate Sith or on Red's back, and that's it.
Yeah, it's cute in Advent Children whenever Kate Sith is riding on Red. That's good.
Okay, so my next one was not content with billboards or signs. A character from another property will be on the screen in front of the party. Didn't get that one right.
Did get that one right. No more restrained himself.
He did. He held back. Like, I was shocked that like we didn't fucking see anyone from like a different Final Fantasy game or Kingdom Hearts or Parasite or something.
There aren't even really like billboards that I can see that had like a fucking like Cujo or whatever.
Yeah.
Cuja, not Cujo. Cujo is the dog.
Considering that like we were just playing RE3 Remake and fucking Mega Man is everywhere.
Right. Yeah, exactly. No, they were very restrained. I mean, mad props to them.
Yeah, good for them. There are going to be more dungeons, not just bigger dungeons, and they'll suck.
I was so right. You can't take it away from me. I was extremely right.
They added a bunch of stuff that, again, we just talked about. The dungeons went on too long, and they did add like a lot of more just like brand new areas. Brand new areas,
at least 2 new dungeons in the form of the drum and the lab underneath Sector 7. The lab underneath Sector 7 is kind of a drag, and the drum is fine, but it goes on too long. So I was right. I'm taking that again. So that's 2 for me.
I had a character from Dirge of Cerberus will show up, but look and act completely different. This one has yet to be proven false.
So, but you could almost take... You said Dirge of Cerberus, but I mean, the fact that... And I didn't know this, man, because I don't know a lot about, like, the light novels, because they're light novels, and those are usually a drag to read in English. But, like, I didn't know that Leslie and Kyrie were light novel characters.
Yeah, they're from The Kids Are Alright, apparently.
And I had no idea. No fucking clue. But you know what? Nomura is terrifying me. I'm so afraid.
Nothing is off limits at this point.
No, we'll talk. The number of Crisis Core references in this game makes me feel like I'm gonna die. Not in a bad way.
Which is funny, because my next prediction was a Turk from before Crisis or Crisis Core will show up, and they did not.
Didn't. I was so hoping Cisne would show up. I mean, like, they threw out all these other fucking Crisis Core references, but you can't make Cisne show up? Cisne is good.
Considering every single nod, I was just baffled that we didn't see a single one.
Waiting for it. I mean, she should have... Cisne is, like, she's likable. People like that character, and she's good. And I really thought she would get to show up in some capacity, but I guess fucking not. Crazy.
The next one that you had was Reef is going to interact with Avalanche. He did not.
Yeah. That's horseshit.
Instead, we got the mayor, which was pretty cool.
Oh, that part was rad. Good for Mayor Domino. He got to be even cooler. Yeah. He's just like a nothing character in the original, but like in the remake, he's really fun and like bizarre.
Super likable. Like
he's having a good time.
He was raw at first, and then he became like hilarious.
Oh, it's so good. I can't believe... I really was not expecting Mayor Domino to basically be like... That line he has where he's like, my hands are more paper cut than skin.
That's great. You're awesome.
It's so good. It's a fun character with a little bit of good levity, and I really like all of his interactions with Wedge. All just kick ass. So, yeah.
Next one is... hasn't happened yet, so I'm still in the clear for this one.
Okay.
The Calm flashback will be a cutscene, but DLC will come out where you play as Sephiroth.
You can still be in the clear. I will say, I think I saw somebody on Twitter say this, but I think it's a great idea. Might have been Haddock on Twitter. saying, or it could have been in Vinion. Anyway, either way, one of them was saying that part 2 should just start with the flashback.
Oh, big
like
agree.
Just cold open with the flashback in calm, and then when you come back, it's everybody sitting around in the inn, and Cloud is telling everybody what's going on, or telling the story about Sephiroth.
Holy shit, that would be a great way to do the tutorial.
I know, right?
Wow.
It's so smart. I love that idea. I think it'd be so cool to just open the game, like cold open on the truck to Nibelheim.
Yes.
You know? And then that way you can open the game with like Sephiroth burning down Nibelheim, so you have your cool, punchy moment in the first 5 minutes, 15, 20 minutes of the game. Yeah, it's a great idea.
Yeah, I would totally be on board with that.
I'm super into it. Yeah, absolutely.
Your next one is the rest of the game will be part 2.
We are... probably not. I'm probably wrong about this
Probably not, but I mean...
It would be really nice.
It's anyone's game at this point, though, because there are no rules.
See, here's my question to you, my friend.
Yes.
I'm going to ask you a question right now.
Mm-hmm.
If you had to wait, instead of, say, 2 to 3 years, if you had to wait 4 to 5 years, but what you got was the full game, is that better or worse?
I would be okay with it.
Right?
Because I personally will have Kingdom Hearts games in the interim.
Right, that's true. And I mean, I've been saying, like, the cool thing about this is that the original game still exists.
It does.
So I can still get some form of closure on, like, the plot as we know it. Like, that kind of closure still exists. Mm-hmm. So, like, I can just play the original game 3 more times in the span of... If it took 5 years, for example, to get me the rest of the game, like have part 2 just be this massive, sprawling, fucking Witcher 3 style, huge goddamn video game, 120 hours to beat all of it kind of thing, I would take that. I think I would take that deal because I would rather just have the full game as one complete piece. But that's probably not what's going to happen.
Also, I'll be honest with you, I don't think it'll take 5 years.
To make the...
I think
it'll take, if we're doing it in parts, I think it'll take 2 years to get part 2 out.
I would agree with that. I think if they do want to release the entire thing, I think it'll take at max 4. Because they've talked about how they announced it too early. Mm-hmm. So I think they are working, like... And we already know they are working on part 2 already. Like, before part 1 came out, they were already transitioning people over to work on part 2.
Right.
I think now that they have the gameplay taken care of, they kind of know what they're doing with it.
Right.
And I don't think, overall, part 2 will be as involved as part 1, even if it is the whole game. Mm-hmm. Considering, like, just like the base game. Like, it's Midgar is the big thing, and every other town is kind of small in comparison.
Yeah.
I think it'll take about the same amount of time to get the rest of the game out.
Okay. I mean, that makes sense. I would prefer, I mean, and I think we are still going to get 3 parts. I think it's going to be a 3-part affair.
I think so too.
So I do think the next part will be out in 2022, which is not, I mean, 2 years is really not, in the grand scheme of things, that too long. Mm-hmm. 2 years will go by pretty quickly, hopefully.
Yeah.
And then 2 years after that, so.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a pretty good estimate.
Reasonable time frame, because they're not going to make any dramatic gameplay changes across, because obviously what they're going to want to do is once part 3 is out, they'll put it all out in a 3-pack.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course.
So they'll put it as like a 3-pack that'll be like the last big thing that comes out for the PS5.
This won't be like Kingdom Hearts, where they have to kind of mix up the gameplay every time.
Yeah.
Like, because they're releasing it at different consoles or whatnot. Like, it's going to be pretty consistent gameplay-wise the whole way through.
Yeah, they might do some tweaks. They might maybe make some, like, iframe changes, small things like that. Mm-hmm. Add better aerial combat, probably, if I had to guess. A few small things like that. But overall, like, if I had to bet, the combat across these 3 games will be relatively unchanged. And it's everything else that you'll be doing that'll be the big thing.
It'll be kind of like Devil May Cry. Like, the core gameplay of Devil May Cry doesn't really change beyond, like, these tweaks of what you can do. But like, You know, there's obviously
like
big
3,
difference.
4, and 5 are very similar video games.
Like just like on a surface level, they are very similar games. Like once you get more in depth, it changes. But you know, like the 4 buttons you press on the controller, do the same thing consistently.
Right? Yeah, exactly. So, I think 2 years between every release is totally reasonable.
Mm-hmm. I think so. So my next one was a character will be changed to align with their beta concept or urban legend concept. Nope. They're all just what they were.
It's pretty straightforward. There's more allusions to Sephiroth and Aerith actually interacting, which is like a thing that we didn't really get in the original.
Mm-hmm.
It's really interesting when you think about it. The fact that Aerith and Sephiroth really never have any like face-to-face interactions with each other. But in the like beta concepts, it was either concepted they would be like siblings and they were like maybe exes, or they had some kind of relationship at some point, and that all got thrown out. Mm-hmm. But then Hojo makes a really interesting comment about their children, and I was like, excuse me?
Yeah.
And so I don't know. But still, no, there's no actual beta stuff anywhere.
The bonus one we had, which was I'm gonna half count this one.
Okay.
Because during that episode we pondered whether or not a teen-rated game gets to say the F word like a PG-13 movie gets one instance of the F word.
Right.
We thought it would be Aerith. Aerith did not say fuck, but she did say
get
shit.
To say shit. And we're very proud of her. That's another one of those moments where it's like, oh my god, they understand. They know. They know that she's not just like sweet, innocent princess child. She's actually just like kind of a messy bitch who has like a heart of gold, but always starts trouble and hits people with chairs.
So I'm gonna half count that one.
It counts. We're gonna take that one. We're gonna take that. Either way, Sarah wins.
Yes. Well, there's 2 more we have. I'm gonna do
really?
one, and then I'm gonna do one more. So I'm gonna switch the orders of them because it's important. The last one that I had was that Cloud will say "Let's Mosey" in the Japanese version, but it'll be changed to English. Okay. This was wrong, but they also did have a reference to "Let's Mosey."
Somebody did. Who said Mosey? Was it?
Aerith says Mosey.
Aerith says Mosey.
"Shall we Mosey?" and Cloud says "Let's."
Yeah, so good.
So I'm gonna negative count that one. Not only did they get it wrong, they actually got me entirely off.
They totally swapped it up on you, man. Yeah. Oh well.
Now the next one that you predicted is going to lead into the rest of the discussion of this episode.
Oh boy, I did it!
Yours is there will be some kind of Genova Sephiroth battle at the end of the highway with a big monster fight.
Yeah, I totally called it! I'm so smart!
You got this one extremely right.
I'm so smart! I told you! My brain is huge and I'm on another level! I am truly giga-brained.
Not only did you get this right, this is going to fundamentally change the course of the entire game going forward.
Yes! I'm so smart! Nomura, send me money. I got that one extreme. I knew it, too. It's like, there's no way this game ends with the fucking... I think that's what I said in this episode. It's like, there's no fucking way this game ends with the motorball fight. It kicks ass because the motorball fight didn't even get a proper fight. You just fight that thing on the highway now.
Which you also predicted.
Did I?
You also said the motorball will be on the highway, and you'll have to fight it alongside the highway, and then at the end of the highway, you fight Sephiroth.
I was on some strong shit that episode, man.
You fucking crushed it because
yeah, hell yeah, I'm so smart.
Just like Kingdom Hearts 3, the last handful of hours of this game are the most Kino raw shit in existence.
Oh god, it goes so hard. The last 2 hours of this game goes so fucking hard because it's just like boss fight after boss fight after boss fight, and there's cool shit. You literally get it. There's basically no gameplay break after the. So obviously we are in full spoilers now if you haven't noticed yet. Mm-hmm. But after the Genova boss fight in President Shinra's office, there's not a lot, if any, real gameplay. There's not a lot of walking around. It's just back-to-back boss fights.
It's just go to the new area where you fight the next boss.
It goes Genova, Rufus, the big robot in the lobby, Motorball, the Whisper bosses, and then Sephiroth. So that's 6 bosses back to back.
I would say the Kino moment starts at floor 69. I would say that's when the game shifts into full-on absolute Kino Keyblade Graveyard level raw. Just it doesn't, like, it escalates the game a full point on the 1 to 10 scale.
Of total fucking batshit nonsense.
And I'm including the up to floor 69 because you get what I think one of the best moments in the game. One of the littlest things in this game is when President Shinra fucking destroys Barrett's entire shit.
Oh god, so good. I'm so conflicted about that moment because, and I guess it kind of makes sense because this is a remake, so let's explore these things a little bit more. But I think the moment, okay, taking another step back, there is no possible way they could do this in the remake because we already know who our enemy is, right? We know Sephiroth is our actual enemy because he keeps popping up in the fucking game. That being said, I think the moment when you walk into the president's office and he's just there, pinned to his fucking desk like a goddamn sandwich with a sword in his back, and it's like, oh, this is the most powerful man in the world, and he just got murked like it was nothing. I think that's a really cool moment. That being said, I do like the whole conversation with Shinra and Barrett, especially because it gives Barrett kind of some, it gives him to a degree catharsis, which you need for a game that kind of, this is both the first installment, but also across like every installment of a trilogy, characters still need to achieve some sort of catharsis or resolution to their character arc, you know? So that's really important, especially because Barrett in this game is so much more fleshed out and is like easily like the second best character in this game. Maybe the best character in this game, frankly. Behind Cloud, maybe. But Barrett is so, like, his character is so good in this whole game because he's just so, like, he's just a man of contrasts who has a lot going on. And he's really, you really get the feeling that what he says to Elmira, where he's like, I really want to be with Marlene all of the time, but I still have to do this thing. So you get this sense of just Barrett being such like a fleshed out and full character in the 7 remake. And this culminates in this really great fucking confrontation between him and like the person he hates the most in the entire world, other than himself, which is just fucking great.
It like completely encapsulates like all of the depth that the original didn't get to explore because because back then the characters were way more abstractions than like humans, you know?
Sure, absolutely. Also, there is also the fact that like, Final Fantasy VII was not very generous to the original Final Fantasy VII, as much as I like it. It's not terribly generous characterization wise to the only black character in the cast. The black character who they make like beat his chest like an ape sometimes. It's like, ugh, do you have to do that right now, Square?
Yeah. That scene is so good because we don't get we won't get the dying thing for 2 more years at least.
Right, it's gonna be a while.
So to have it with Shinra, where you get this thing where Barrett is going on his speeches again, about the sanctity of the planet, about how he wants Shinra to pay, he wants them to admit their guilt, and Shinra fucking destroys him just by saying, oh, so all you care about is your legacy?
Yeah, you only care about your reputation. You could put me at gunpoint and shut down every reactor tonight. But instead, all you want is for me to tell you that you're right.
Yeah, you want a public confession instead of for me to actually do the thing.
Right. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Because one of the holdovers from the original game that they again, like you said, they didn't explore in terrible depth, but you do get the idea of it over the course, especially with like Dyne, is that Barrett talks a big talk, but doesn't necessarily believe everything he says, and he just wants to He uses the ideas of like planetology and protecting the planet and all that stuff as just like a cover for the fact of, like, his own, like, rage and grief and, you know, like, the fact that he feels like a fool because, again, Barrett's backstory is that he believed Shinra up until they burned down his town. And so it's like he wants to make up for, like, his humiliation and all of this stuff. So he doesn't really believe all the stuff he says. And he's just using it as a front. And it's like, that's like a huge part of his character. And it's really, really cool to see that be brought, like, front and center and be like, hey, every single character in this game is way more complicated than maybe you even realized the first time you played Final Fantasy VII, you know?
Right. And you also get, like, really great hints of it early on where, you know, Barrett will go on his speeches and Jesse and Cloud just stonewall him.
Yeah.
You know?
Because it doesn't feel like the real deal, man.
Yeah, it's not genuine, you know?
Right. Yeah. It's posturing.
And then it's treated like, oh, you know, Barrett really believes in this stuff, but, like, he's kind of being a goofball about it, you know? And then, yeah, the reason is because it's all hollow. It's all bluster for revenge. And it like, adding that, like, elevates, like, Barrett's character depth, like, so much.
Oh, so much. Is it not so good? Barrett is such, like, more so than ever, really just, like, the heart of this game. And he's so, like, every time he's on screen, his voice actor does such a great job, and his character is, like, really layered and interesting. And, like, yeah, it does kind of suck that, like, the only black character in the game is the one who gets most of the comedy moments, which is like, you know? But, like, he still has way more depth and nuance in the remake than he ever did in the original. And I really like Barrett in the original, but, you know, those characters are also still more like skeleton characters in the original.
Yeah.
Except for, like, the major characters, which is Cloud and Tifa and Aerith. And really just Cloud and Tifa. But yeah, no, Barrett gets so much depth, and that whole scene with him and Shinra is, like, kind of the moment everything really starts popping off to an insane degree.
Yeah.
And I knew they weren't gonna kill my mans off, because, like, you can't. Also because they did show that shot of everybody standing at the end of the highway, like, at the end of disc 1. Or not the end of disc 1, but the end of Midgar.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, he's fine. But I was also still at the same time just like, what have you done to him? What have you done?
Right?
He's fine. I was worried.
I was, like, terrified. I'm like...
Don't you fucking do it, Nomura. Leave him alone. You've already spared Wedge, maybe?
Like, is this, like, you know, a life for life thing? Like...
I don't know.
The Arbiters of Fate are probably one of the most interesting concepts you could add to this game.
Go ahead.
I think someone pointed out that they are a really good stand-in for the diehard fans of the original.
I'm just going to say, I said that.
You did?
I said that on Twitter, yeah.
Oh my god.
Maybe, but it's also because, like, we follow so many different accounts that it's fine. It all probably just bleeds together after a while. But yeah, no, I totally said on Twitter, like,
well,
like, the Whispers are, they are stand-ins 100% for the audience in the way that have you ever seen the movie Cabin in the Woods?
Yeah, I haven't, but I know what you're talking about.
How the old gods in Cabin in the Woods are stand-ins for audience expectations. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing. That's all the Whispers are.
Totally.
Like, it is, they are 100% metaphorical. Just the notion that, like, Final Fantasy VII can only be this one thing, and if you meddle in it at all, then we will forcibly drag it back onto its rails, which is literally what is happening in this fucking game.
Okay, Sarah, I'm gonna quick aside.
Yes.
Before we can get back to this, but for this title card,
yes,
can you Photoshop an Arbiter going, no, you have to keep everything the same. It has to be the same game, and then cut to Aerith going, haha, Fate and Machine go brrr.
Yeah, I can. I will try. That's a good idea. Plot changes go bzzz. Oh my god. But yeah, no, that's totally what it is that the Whispers are, more so than anything, just like representational. I mean, yeah, they also have a function in the plot, and they are clearly like a physical thing that will almost certainly get explained. They're like the will of the planet, or they are like future. There's something from like further down the timeline, something like that. But like beyond their actual mechanical definition of what they are also a metaphorical definition of like fan expectations and what Final Fantasy VII has to be, and the idea that Nomura feels constrained by making something like just a one-to-one recreation. Because if it was just a one-to-one recreation, then it would never, and I think it's something he even said in interviews, is that if it was just a one-to-one recreation, you would never be caught off guard by it.
Mm-hmm. And I think Nomura's ability to, and I say this about a lot of things, but this is one of the most blatant examples of it. The ability for an author to say there is no such thing as a sacred cow in this franchise.
Right. Absolutely, kill your darlings.
And once you do that, there's a way to do that. Mm-hmm. And hey, this is a lot like stuff that happened in The Last Jedi. That one of the reasons I really like that movie is because it is unafraid to take things that should be treated with quote unquote reverence by the audience, right? And say, no, these things aren't important. Yeah,
no, none of that stuff matters, and kill your darlings, who cares? Mm-hmm. But it does it with way more confidence. Oh my god.
And this is the difference between things like Final Fantasy VII Remake and Fullmetal Alchemist 03. Mm-hmm. One of these did their complete subversion of everything you expect really well. One of them did it really badly. And I think the core difference between this is that Nomura does understand that these things are important to an audience.
Yeah, I think that's the important thing, is that, and they established, this is the thing that makes me like, when people say that like it's going to change too much, or that Nomura doesn't understand what Final Fantasy VII is about, like, no, that's clearly not true, because we've just established with like all of the chatter before this is that like they kept really fine details of the original in this game that basically exist as reassurances to go like, yeah, this is still your remake. And this is actually something I wanted to talk about kind of briefly once I get done with this. Like, they're saying like, this is still your remake, but changes are also going to happen. But like the heart and soul is still the same.
Yeah.
And with the way this game ends, it is almost certainly going to follow a lot of similar plot. Because, I mean, like, if you think about it, the way this game ends is exactly the way Midgar ends, right?
Right.
But with, like, a big fucking monster boss fight at the end. Because it's it still has to be a complete video game. But this game, the endings are still functionally the exact same. They escape Midgar. They can't go back for whatever reasons. Now they have to set out into the big wide world and find Sephiroth. That's the exact same as the way the original game's Midgar segment ends. Mm-hmm. So, what is almost certainly going to happen, and like a lot of the key plot beats have been like alluded to, Aerith's death, Cloud not being a soldier, stuff like that, have been alluded to, but not explicitly said. And so those things can still happen, just maybe under different contexts. But like a lot of the key plot beats that we remember from Final Fantasy VII, I guarantee you are still going to be in there.
And part of that is because a lot of the changes we've seen in that ending sequence are not things that are going to directly affect the party until way later.
Way later. Most of it has to do with Aerith's death and Meteor Fall.
Mm-hmm. Like, seeing this shot of Biggs in Midgar, hey, they're not going back to Midgar for a while.
Yeah, that's not going to pay off for a hot minute, y'all.
Yeah, don't worry.
This just means that in fucking part 3, whenever we do the return, which I'm like, oh, I wonder where part 3 is even going to start. But when they do inevitably return to Midgar in part 3, that is still going to probably go down basically the way we remember. Because, hey, why the fuck do you think they did the parachuting sequence at the end of chapter 4? If not to set up for the fucking parachuting sequence when they return to Midgar.
That's called foreshadowing.
It's there for a reason. It's there to make you understand that, like, a lot of the core components of what people remember of Final Fantasy VII are probably all still going to be in there. Like, all of the little things are probably going to be untouched. I mean, I might be out of my fucking mind and Nomura might just kick down the whole walls, but I don't think so.
And the thing is, even if he does do that and we just go completely in a different direction...
Sure.
That'll also be okay.
That'll be interesting.
Because it's been 20 years.
Look, Nomura is not going to break into your house and destroy your copy of the original Final Fantasy VII, y'all. You can still buy it on, like, basically every platform you can get your hands on. You can buy it on the fucking Xbox now, which is a thing that nobody ever thought would happen. Like, you have more than enough options to play the original Final Fantasy VII. It's not going anywhere.
And besides that, like, it's very clear that he's shown a deep reverence for wanting to make bold story decisions, but then also doing the work to make them fit.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, when you explore it by, like, a little bit deeper, you can understand why he's making these decisions for the story. And I'm super intrigued because there's that bit where you're fighting Sephiroth, or the Arbiters, right? They're the Whispers, and they get hit with those flash forwards, right?
Yeah.
To things like Aerith's death, or Meteor, or other things like that. Red says that they're possible futures.
Right.
And the whole point is that by the end of it, the Whispers are gone.
Yeah.
And so they're totally free from those futures.
Yeah. So it means you can change things and make, like, identifiable changes to your world.
Yeah, and I'm just like, the fact that they very clearly showed the ending shot of the game of Red and the other dogs running through the canyon, you know?
Yeah.
That to me, and everything, all those flash forwards we saw, that to me says those aren't going to happen. Yeah. What, like, Aerith might still die, it won't be like that.
It'll be under completely different context, for sure. Like, all of these, that's what I mean, like, this idea that a lot of the plot beats that you remember from Final Fantasy VII will almost certainly be there, but the context and the meaning and, like, what that reflects in, like, the theming of the story could be completely different. But, like, I think a lot of those same things there's still probably gonna be some kind of meteor fall, because, again, iconic. Again, part of the reason that these remakes exist is to, for a degree, remake really iconic stuff from Final Fantasy VII. And I don't think Square is gonna shoot their golden goose that hard. But I think the reasons why those things happen, or the fallout of that stuff happening, could be totally different. And stuff could also get completely fucking changed. We already know a few things are different, because Biggs is alive. And, like, who knows? Jesse and Wedge might be too? I don't know. I hope they are.
They deliberately show Biggs being alive. They leave Wedge's fate ambiguous. And they give Jesse a ton of backstory.
Right.
The other two don't get backstory. Only Jesse does.
Yeah.
I would be shocked if all three of them are just dead. Like, if they don't revive all three of them, like, I would be shocked.
And a little pissed off. Bring back my girl. She didn't do anything wrong.
The amount of work they put into developing these characters and to showing them as more than just Barrett's wacky henchmen, you know, like, tells me that they're not done with these characters at all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wedge gets to survive Platefall and gets to go into the Shinra HQ, and then he gets wiped out by the Whispers anyway? No, there's something weird. This is all part of, like, hooks to set up for part 2. Like, shit's gonna change. Y'all, get excited. Don't be so down. Just get fucking hype, okay? Yeah.
Because, like, I am so excited to see the direction of how things will go, because it's like, the deal is that now that the cool thing is that the flashes they got from the Whispers are so vague.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's like a big rock falling toward the sky, and Aerith maybe dying, and like Red 13 and his cubs. They are such like vague happenings, and like Cloud versus Sephiroth, that like the whole hook is like, well, we don't really know what makes all that stuff happen, so how do we fix it, or how do we keep it from happening?
Mm-hmm.
And so you have this cool push and pull of like, you know, everything that's happened once shall happen again, and like, I don't know, I'm really excited for like the future of what this story is gonna do.
I think it's amazing that this game is called a remake.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And like, it's a fucking Kingdom Hearts title.
Yeah, all it needs is a colon in the middle.
Remind, recoded, remake, rechain of memories. Like, that's exactly what it is. Like,
oh yeah. Oh
this
man,
isn't
yeah.
This isn't a port, a re-enhancement. It's a sequel.
Mm-hmm.
This is like, it's a straight up sequel to Final Fantasy VII.
In the most absolutely fucking batshit way ever. It owns.
I am honestly stunned and applaud Nomura for taking this risk. This is a huge risk.
Oh, the ballsiness of fucking with like the most known story in JRPGs, because like everybody knows the beats, you know, especially like the whole Aerith thing. Everybody knows it, and to like willfully say like, no, I think I'm gonna do my own thing with these characters, is just the fucking best, man. Like, the nuts on Tetsuya Nomura. It's incredible that he can walk around.
Very quiet, but very powerful.
Very powerful.
I think, honestly, working on Kingdom Hearts 3 played a huge role in his ability to take this kind of risk. And like, I don't know how, like, what like the best way to put this is, because like, he's completely earned my trust, for one thing.
Sure.
Like, I am super excited to see where this goes.
Oh no, I am on board 100%. Every mean thing I ever said about Tetsuya Nomura over the course of this podcast, like, I totally take back, man. I didn't know what the fuck I was talking about. Like, clearly this man is on another level from me.
I think just like, it suddenly totally makes sense why we've heard nothing about anything post Midgar in like press releases or anything. Like, there's never been a hint of like, oh yeah, like, you know, we're excited to work on the Golden Saucer, or like, you know, oh, you know, we can't wait till we show you what the crater looks like, you know, like,
right.
Probably because we aren't going there.
Or we're fucking changing it in some big way. I don't know how, but there's change in the air, y'all. And I mean, like, the cool thing is that for the most part, except for a few people who are wrong on Twitter who will go unnamed, most people are extremely enthusiastic about this, like, batshit fucking ending. Maximilian Dude beat it like last night, the night before, on stream, and he was super gigabrained about all of it, because he's just like, you know, and there's a lot of really cool shit going on, like this notion that like Sephiroth is like literally waging war against Destiny itself. Like, what is the Sephiroth you fight at the end of the game? He's not a clone. Is he from the future? Is he this timeline's Sephiroth? So what are the things that Cloud is seeing in his head? Because those are obviously just illusions. Like, you see the clone at the end of the game fall off the side of the Shinra building, and he's holding Genova, so, like, what? How is that gonna... What? We talked kind of briefly earlier today, like, the weird... They make a weird point of pointing out that Rufus can see the Whispers, even though, like... Rufus... I mean, literally Cloud couldn't see them until Aerith touched him. So what does that mean? So, and like you mentioned, Hojo couldn't see them. So, like, what the fuck does, like, all of these little things that are just like, I just wonder how it's all going to tie together. And I know it will all tie together because I haven't played a Kingdom Heart in a while, but I know that Kingdom Hearts 3 ties it all together pretty fucking well, according to you. So, like, I mean, I don't know. I am so fucking excited just to see how this all turns out, you know?
It is impressive to see, like, there are certain things where it's like you really get to see Nomura shine. Mm-hmm. All of the bits where the hallucination of Sephiroth is talking to Cloud are all of the best moments from Kingdom Hearts 3, where I wrote in my notes that he's taking a page out of young Xehanort's book and saying cryptic things to a hero who can't fight back at the moment, and then leaving.
And then, like, bailing. Hey, that first dream sequence, by the way, where Cloud is hallucinating in the middle of Midgar, and it's, like, half Midgar and half Nibelheim.
Holy shit!
It's so... Because at first you don't realize it. You're just kind of, like, stumbling along, and then you look up, and you're like, hey, wait a second.
Those aren't, like, apartment buildings.
That's just a hut. Okay. It's so cool. Oh man, God. That's such a good moment.
They managed to fit the Sephiroth turning around bit into part 1. So good for them.
And they make it really cool. So, you know what? And they did it in such a way that if they do the thing where they start part 2 with just a cold open to the flashback, then when he does it in the flashback, it will be like that's the context for anybody who's never... Because, like, a lot of people are playing this as their first Final Fantasy. Like, period. Because, like, everybody's hearing about the hype around FF7. So, like, for those people, that will be like oh shit, that's the context moment, which is really cool. And then for us, the rest of us, it's, oh my god, I clapped, I don't care.
They did the thing that I liked.
So I clapped and I'm excited. Yeah. It's gonna be so good.
I had a bunch of other notes, but, like, the majority of it is, like, we didn't even talk about Zack's alive.
Zack is alive? Question mark? I don't understand. The meaning of that last fucking shot, because, like, people pointed it out to me, and once they did point it out to me, again, I felt like I was going insane, is the fact that the stamp in that sequence of Zack is different than the one that we've seen in the game.
And they make a strong point to show you the different stamp. It's not like it's tucked in the corner somewhere. Like, that sheet of paper, like, flies in front of the camera.
Yeah, it, like, whips in front of the camera to make sure you notice. And then earlier in the game, they made sure, because it's, like, part of a navigational puzzle, is to, like, make sure you pay attention to what that fucking cartoon dog looks like in this world, and then you see the one in Zack's, and it's a completely different thing, and it's like, so is that like an alternate timeline? Did like what they did by killing the Whispers, like, does that ripple across time and create timelines? Like, did this make multiple timelines? Where, like, because obviously in Cloud's right now, like our Cloud, the one we're playing as, he doesn't have Zack with him, even though the two of them are like a duo buddy thing, right?
Right.
So then, like, so is, like, Cloud Zack still dead, but, like, it's created this weird ripple where, like, there's another one out there?
So here's something interesting, and I've kind of been thinking about this, and I might be remembering it slightly wrong.
Okay.
It might just be an issue of the translation or whatever, but Cloud in the remake is very sullen, and he's very cool, and he's trying to create this image of being, like, cool and collected and, like, you know, very serious.
The perfect mercenary, yeah.
Yeah. In the original, he kind of had more of a cockiness to him.
Yeah.
Which was because he was emulating Zack.
Right.
Right? So I'm wondering if this difference in personality means that because Zack's not dead and because Cloud didn't internalize trying to be like Zack.
Right.
I'm wondering if Zack is still alive and Cloud just can't remember that.
So then where is he?
I don't know. He's doing something.
He's up to something. I don't know. And because like they really make it a point to not show, you would think they would show in some kind of flashback Tifa meeting Cloud at the station. Because, like, in the original Tifa meets Cloud at the Sector 7 station, and he's, like, really, really fucked up. And he's, like, in a gutter, and he's having a bad time. And Tifa is like, hey, why don't you come back and help me out at the bar? And he kind of snaps into, like, this weird Zack persona, like, in that moment, right? But, like, they make it a point to not show you that flashback at all, even though they're showing, like, flash forwards and shit like that. And they do show the actual flashback where Zack dies but then doesn't die. Like, they show you all of that, but they don't show that sequence. So I wonder if that's, like, if they did that for a reason. Like, they made sure not to show Zack or show Cloud at the station because it would reveal something that they're planning on revealing later. I don't know.
See, and I'm trying to piece together the puzzle here, because the thing is that when Zack fights the Shinra soldiers at the point where he's supposed to die, there's a whirlwind of whispers around Midgar.
Yes.
And they make it a point to say the whispers will block your path if you're not supposed to make it there, right?
Right.
When you when you defeat the boss and the whispers explode, it shows Zack, standing there saying, "What was that? All of them?"
Yeah, was that it?
So to me, and you see the lights coming from that later on when they show Sector 7 and they're picking up the pieces, and the glowing lights fall on the Seventh Heaven sign.
Right.
Then we cut to Biggs being alive. So I think this is retroactively changing fate.
So you think that, like, unbeknownst to the party, they've kind of kicked themselves into, like, a weird alternate timeline?
I think that's what's happening. Because remember, when the party passes through that gate, they end up in Midgar. They end up in Midgar. They're still in Midgar.
Yeah, like HQ is still there. It's fucked up, but it's still there. You see a pan out, and I was kind of expecting, like, oh, they're going to show a pan out of the city and Sector 7 is going to be, intact. And they didn't, but, like, I was kind of expecting that, but, like... waiting for it.
I think what they did is went to a parallel timeline, and they're defeating the Whispers caused a ripple effect that went backwards. Because remember...
Yeah, okay.
Because remember, when Biggs died, he was surrounded by Whispers.
Yeah.
When Barrett died, he was surrounded by Whispers.
Right.
When Jesse and Wedge died...
Barrett wasn't supposed to die.
Yeah, but, like, Jesse and Wedge were also surrounded by Whispers when they died.
Yeah, right.
Now the Whispers are gone, and Biggs is alive, and Zack is alive.
Right. So there aren't, like, the Whispers aren't there to correct fate and make sure all this stuff happens the way it's supposed to.
Right. We don't see Whispers for every death in the game, right?
Right.
Only for certain people.
Yeah.
So, and we deliberately see the Whispers hounding Wedge.
Yeah.
Like, they target him.
Yeah, they push him out of a building, maybe?
Like,
they vanish him, for sure.
Yeah, they pull him into some kind of void, which means it's a Final Destination situation.
They are making sure this boy is dead.
So I really am thinking that, like, it was a retroactive thing, and
it worked backwards.
And what we're going to open up with is, in part 2, we're going to see the events of part 1 kinda happened, and this ties into how they're going to handle the games going forward.
Right.
So Kingdom Hearts, I'm just using this as an example because it's Nomura and he does it every time. Kingdom Hearts in every game always includes some reason why you're at level 1.
Right.
Whether it's Chain of Memories.
Up earlier. Okay, I'm listening. Yeah.
Chain of Memories. You lose your memories of combat. You have to relearn them. 2, because of the events of Chain of Memories, Sora has to relearn all his abilities.
Right.
Dreamed Out Distance. You're in a dream world. You lost all your abilities to test yourself. 3, because Dreamed Out Distance went badly for Sora, he lost all his abilities.
Right.
And every other game you're playing as a different character.
Yeah.
So, what's going to happen in Final Fantasy VII Part 2 is that because you're in a new timeline, you don't have access to everything you had before.
Oh, that makes a ton of sense. I guess that would make sense because you're just being kicked into, like, your default state.
because in this new timeline, most of the events of the past happened, but there are some changes. Zack is still alive. Biggs is still alive. Like,
right.
Other things have changed, so you're not going to start in with the exact same gear and stats you had.
Right. Ooh, that's good. That's interesting.
That's what I think is happening, and I'm basing this off of watching the ending cutscene once.
Probably should have watched that one more time before we get fired up so I could keep an eye on details. But fuck it, who cares? We're doing this live, baby.
But, that's what I think is going to happen. That's how I think they're going to handle...
That's interesting, though. I like it.
Because, realistically, Part 2 is going to be on the PS5, right?
Oh, yeah, they kind of have to because of all these fucking, load hallways that they need to get rid of because they're bad. Boy, there's a lot of them.
Boy, you squeeze through cracks a lot in this game.
There's a lot of tight hallways in this big, amazing city. Maybe you guys should pick up some of your trash.
Boy, you guys, you walk on balance beams and then they collapse a lot, huh?
Yeah, that's interesting. You gotta crawl under rubble a lot so that you can't look back and see the other area unloaded.
Also, realistically, people who buy the PS5 might not have a PS4. Mm-hmm. How are they supposed to play Part 1 to carry over their save data,
Well, PS5 is backwards compatible, remember?
Oh, that's right, yeah. Well,
so
in that case...
they probably will do, I can imagine, some kind of data, because, you can transfer saves between PS3 and PS4 in some way, I think. There's, cloud saves and stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So, cloud saves. We're on the same page. That's funny. But, I'm sure there'll be some way to carry your save over. And, I'm sure you won't start the game at level 35 with all of your materia maxed out, but you'll probably get some kind of bonus for doing it, I can see.
I think so, too, but also because, the game is balanced, like you said, the game is balanced where you get your Aga spells in Midgar.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't start Part 2 with Aga.
No, that's not how this works.
It can't be that good. You can't be that maxed out already. There has to be some sort of way to balance that to start you off.
Also, because then you won't have a reason to level your new materia.
Mm-hmm.
You'll just have a maxed out Aga materia, so it's I don't need to worry about anything else. No. I
think there's going to be something that reduces you back to level 1, and I think the best way to do that is to include some sort of plot reason why you lost all your gear. And I think
the plot reason being you're in a weird sort of new timeline, sort of not.
Yeah.
Hell yeah! Fuck yeah! I'm totally on board. I love time travel shit. Let's do this.
Oh my god. And
your brain is so big right now you can't even keep up with it.
I remember saying when I first started I heard rumors about the rumors we heard were just the words future Sephiroth. Yeah. That's it. Literally all I saw on Twitter, because I'll be real, I was thirst browsing for fan art on Twitter, as you do, and I was clicking through different tags and stuff like that, and I clicked on something. I was like, oh fuck, why did I look at that? And all I saw were the words future Sephiroth, and I closed out Twitter as fast as I could, and for 5 minutes I was like, why did I do that? I have waited 5 years for this remake. Why would I do that to myself? And then I thought about it more, and I just started laughing hysterically to myself in my office because I was like, oh, this is insane. It's exactly what I wanted. Perfect. That actually made me, just seeing those words made me more hype, actually. Because I was like, oh, we are in the goop now, folks. When you told me about that, and I was like, this game is going to raise my power level tenfold.
I'm going to be so strong by the end of this game. Oh man, I'm going to be unstoppable. It's true.
I am just and there's also a few other things that really that don't really get mentioned, but I wanted to bring them up because I think they're important.
Hit me. I'm trying to open this beer as quietly as possible.
Hey Nomura, where's the rocket in the church?
Where is the rocket in the church? That's an excellent question.
The rocket in the church is kind of an important thing for Cid's backstory.
Yeah.
Where is it?
I wonder.
And I know that for a lot of people, no one really noticed it in the original version.
Nobody realized it was a rocket there either. But when you look at it, you're like, wait a second, that's a rocket.
In the remake...
Hey, there's a character with a rocket backstory.
In the remake, it's pretty obvious because you have a control of the camera that you can tell it's not there.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Also, while we do have characters like Leslie and Kyrie and, who are technically from other games, even, what's the name of the soldier grunt that Cloud meets up with in... That's the exact moment. So, there's a lot of stuff that happens before then that is like, are you referencing Crisis Core right now? And then they directly say that, so you meet the soldier grunt in the cafeteria, basically, of Shinra HQ, and that grunt says, oh hey, Cloud, we met in Basic. I'm gonna go get Kunsel and tell him that you're alive, because Kunsel is a second-class soldier from Crisis Core who is basically like your tutorial character / a character who emails Zack a lot and is just like a cool bro. He doesn't talk. He doesn't have like a lot of voice cuts. I think he only has one voice cut scene, but he's like Zack's biggest fan, man. Mm-hmm. And it's like he specifically has a name, and they very, very pointedly say the name Kunsel, and it's like, what are you doing? Where is this going? Are you seriously referencing Crisis? And then they do it again because they say that they want to breed Aerith, right? And they want to breed her with soldiers, and they specifically say, oh, any of the S and G types will work. And those are Crisis Core things.
S and G? You mean Sephiroth and Genesis? Real? Yeah. You didn't realize that, you poor bastard. This is why you need to play Crisis Core. Yeah.
Oh no, Gact is canon.
Gact is still there somewhere in this story.
No, Hojo wanted to breed Aerith with Gact.
But yeah, no, they make a point of noting, at least in Crisis Core, that there are two different strands of soldiers, and they have Mako cells that are either S-type or G-type. And it's like, oh, you're referencing. And like, that was when my brain started to explode. And then again, the game ends on a shot-for-shot recreation of the end of Crisis Core. As in, they are identical. You can run those two pieces of footage next to each other, and they are the exact same.
But like, the one that got me is that all of these references to Crisis Core, all these references to The Kids Are Alright,
Yeah, of all the fucking things to reference, The Kids Are Alright. Okay.
Right? But they have some basis. And I even think like Chocobo Sam and Madame M and Andrea are already established characters.
Chocobo Sam owns the Chocobo Ranch outside of Midgar. I don't know about Madame M and Andrea.
I think they're also like referenced in The Kids Are Alright.
Maybe.
So the weird thing is, where the fuck did Roche come from?
Yeah, who the fuck is Roche? Where's this dude?
He is like the only quote-unquote new character, that wasn't in the base game.
Right.
That I think is completely new. He's a soldier.
I think so. Yeah, because he's not... I don't remember any references to Roche in Crisis Core.
He's a soldier. He gets a boss battle all to himself. He gets a motorcycle chase all to himself.
It's extremely cool, by the way.
He very clearly sets himself up to be a future rival for Cloud.
Right.
Who is this guy?
Yeah, like, where is he from? What is he... If you're gonna reference all this other extended backstory stuff, like The Kids Are Alright and shit like that, like, where does Roche fit in all of this? What is he here for?
It's really interesting because, like, when you consider that, for the most part, beat by beat, this game follows the Midgar stuff. It's obviously very much expanded.
Sure.
But even stuff like running around Wall Market, or even collapsing in the floor in to find the Shinra lab, is just an expansion of the plate falling thing.
Yeah.
Right? Going topside with Jesse on a secret mission that night is an entirely new plot sequence that does not exist at all in the base game. has a fight with a character who's never been seen before,
right?
And has an appearance from Avalanche members that we've never seen before.
Yeah, now the Avalanche thing is in and of itself kind of a Before Crisis, which is the terrible Turks phone game that nobody should play. But it's a reference to that because they mention that like the Avalanche we know is just a splinter group from like a larger Avalanche group, and that larger Avalanche group plays a part in Before Crisis, but they aren't like a big militarized organization. They're still, as far as I can recall, I haven't played Before Crisis. I've just like read the synopsis because I like the Turks, but I think Before Crisis is bad. But like even that is not like a big like military operation. It's like another group of slightly more coordinated ragtag idiots because their leader is like a badass. She's like a cool badass chick lady. She's the at the time the head of the Turks' daughter. But like that Avalanche is like more organized and is like a larger organization, but doesn't look like a fucking paramilitary group like with uniforms and like fucking machine guns and shit.
Yeah,
like that's new.
I'm just like, I'm very curious to see where Roche especially goes.
Yeah, like what? Like where is he? Because now that we've kind of walked ourselves into this idea of like weird timeline shit is going on, where is he from? Like what is he from? What's going on?
Why is he the only character with all of these fucking Crisis Core references? Where was he during Crisis Core?
Yeah, like what?
Why wasn't it like one of the other characters in Crisis Core? Why is it this new guy?
There's not a lot of characters in Crisis Core. They're all dead by the end of Crisis Core.
That would be why. But like,
but I get what you're saying too. Like it's just weird, right?
I'm just like, he's like a very prominent character in his chapter.
I'm so excited for a Roche rematch in part 2.
I wrote in my notes here, G Cloud, why does Nomura let you have 2 Virgils? Which now that I think about it is not accurate.
Oh?
Because Rufus is Cloud's Virgil.
For sure. I mean, there's a fight on top of a tower in the middle of the night. That's a Virgil fight, y'all.
Right, like he is Cloud's Virgil. Cloud is Roche's Virgil. Roche is the Dante of this trio.
Roche is the Dante of this game. He is having just as much fun. He does cool motorcycle tricks. Oh man, he really is just a Dante.
He's a wacky wahoo cowboy man.
Yeah, with a bad haircut, as much as I like him. I was really like afraid I wouldn't like Roche either. Like as like a side note, like when they like showed him in the original, like the initial trailer that shows him, and they were talking about him, I'm like, oh, this could be bad. It's a new character in Final Fantasy VII. I don't know how I feel about this. But then you meet Roche, and it's like, wait, this guy kicks ass.
This guy's
awesome. He's just having a good time. He is here to have fun and beat up Cloud just because he's kind of in love with Cloud, but like in a fun way. It owns. It's just the best.
He does the rival thing where he's like, no henchman, stand down. Yeah, I'm going to fight him.
I think we were meant to fight each other type shit, and it's just like, oh, that's so
God,
cool.
he's so... I'm honestly surprised he didn't... I'm honestly surprised he didn't, like, aid in the capture or the escape from Shinra HQ.
I was really hoping he would, but that in and of itself is, like, something... go ahead.
When we heard the motorcycle revving, Melissa thought it was Roche coming to save the day.
That would have been great! Oh, man.
Awesome.
I would have loved for Roche to just run Heidegger over.
It would have been fucking awesome if Roche gave Cloud the motorcycle.
Oh, I know.
Like, you would have, like, tossed Cloud the keys or something.
Yeah. Oh, man, that I do. But see, it is also important, at least I think it's important to, like, what's going on with the story, that, like, hey, I don't even notice, but there's nobody important in Shinra when the raid goes on. Like...
Besides
the department heads are there, so Scarlet, Palmer, Heidegger, Hojo, and Reeve, they're there. But, like... no other... You would think there should be more first classes attacking, but Roche isn't there. There's only second classes in like a handful of build. There's a spider in my bathroom. I'll get him in a minute. But there's no other soldier first classes attacking, which was like that was a thing that was in the original too, that they very pointed like there's no first classes attacking, there's only second classes in HQ. But like now that they've established Roche, you would think they'd be like, hey, here's another first class. Or that like Roche would show up. But no, there's not. The one of the funniest parts of the original game that I'm kind of sad they took out, but I mean if it's for plot reasons, I guess it's fine. One of the funniest parts of the original game is when you get in the elevator to go to the upper floors of Shinra HQ, and the elevator doesn't work, and then Rude is there, and he just walks in, and he's like, "Sup, guys?" And then he takes you captive. Mm-hmm. But like, hey, none of the Turks are in the building when that happens. And they very conspicuously get a call from Rufus right before the raid happens. Like, hey, some shit's gonna go down. Maybe y'all shouldn't be in there.
Right? And then
so
we see
it's
them...
like, that shit's all tied together?
Yeah, the implication, like you said, like the implication of, like, was Rufus
the implication,
the
the implication, especially because this is, again, another holdover from Before Crisis, because in Before Crisis, that version of Avalanche is being funded by Rufus to kill his dad. So if they're still doing, like, these crazy fucking references to the expanded, like, the compilation, like, that could totally be what happened here, is that, like, because, like, Avalanche HQ attacks the same night that, like, the main crew attacks, and it seems like they were expecting the other Avalanche guys, but not you guys. Like the main party just kind of stumbles onto something they're not supposed to be in. Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh, some shit's going on. Some stuff's getting changed, and it's I don't know, man. It's fascinating. I'm just... Nomura, what's going on? What are you doing?
Like,
man.
I am just, like, blown away.
I know.
At this.
At the scope of it, and the ballsiness of it, to be so willing to just be like, nope, fuck you, I'm making changes to the most known JRPG story ever.
Like, people are getting legitimately angry at the plot changes here.
Good.
And, yeah.
Because it helps me establish who's a coward on Twitter.
You cannot imagine the heads of Square Enix, like, their hesitation to allow Nomura to do this.
I know. It's just like... Yeah, how do you even do that? How do you walk into, like, a meeting and go, okay, so we're remaking Final Fantasy, right? And they're like, yeah. And then he's like, psych, no, we're not.
No, we're remaking it. You're like, yes, it's a remake. You're going to remake the
game.
And
then he just, like, very pointedly sticks a colon between re and make, and everybody goes, oh.
I think that's going to be the subtitle for the next one. It'll be Final Fantasy VII make.
No, the subtitle is going to be Reunion, and you could put money on that. I take that one to Vegas. Mm-hmm.
Because this is not called Part 1. It's called Remake.
No. So it's Remake and Reunion, and
because
I know what the third one would be.
Because this is the only one that's a quote-unquote regular remake.
Yeah, and they make a big point of still mentioning the Reunion a bunch of times in the first part. And if the story goes the way it's... I hope that burp did not get caught on air. That'd be really gross. I'm having, like, too many drinks. That's extremely gross. I'm sorry. But, like... If the story still goes and at least follows some of the plot beats, then part 2 can only end really in two places, right?
Mm-hmm.
Part 2 can only end either at Aerith's death, or it ends at the reunion in the Northern Crater.
I think you're right. I think that's the only places it can go.
That's the only two places it could end. To have part 2 end on, like, an insane fucking cliffhanger is either have it end on Aerith's death and fuck you, this is what it felt like to finish disc 1, or you end it at the reunion on Northern Crater, Cloud isn't real, things have gone completely batshit, Yeah, things are bad, and that's how you end the game, you know? It's one or the other. But either way, you end the game extremely close to the reunion. So I could see the second game being called Reunion. We'll see. We'll see.
God, I'm just like...
It makes you feel crazy, right? It's suddenly like, oh my god, Final Fantasy is fresh again. Holy shit.
It's one of those things where it's like you thought you were safe.
You never safe. I never want to get off of Mr. Nomura's wild ride, ever.
The fact that we didn't even really get a secret ending.
Well, yeah, because the secret ending was just the shit with Zack, and they just stuck it before the credits. They're like, nope, we're not going to make you guess. Here it is. This is the thing you'll be talking about for the rest of the next 2 years.
I am, honestly shocked, considering his reputation, that he didn't put the Zack thing, post-credits.
As, I know, but that's the thing, is, this isn't Kingdom Hearts, baby. This is something completely different. That's something completely different. Don't you dare say it.
Are you sure it's not Kingdom Hearts? Because we fought Heartless in this game.
I know, but I don't know, Ben. I'm terrified. I live in fear every single day that Tetsuya Nomura is they're all connected.
The most galaxy brain take I've seen on Twitter is someone was like, boy, the Sephiroth you fight at the end has that one black wing. Kind of like Kingdom Hearts Sephiroth.
Oh, don't you do it, you bastards!
And he does have Heartless Angel as an attack. Gets the noggin jogging.
Oh god, you just feel so the more you talk about it, the more you feel crazy. You feel like if the title card is not new plot points go bzzz, then it's definitely the Always Sunny in Philadelphia Pepe Silva in front of the pin board with Cloud's face photoshopped on top of it. Because that's how I feel whenever I talk about this sometimes. I just feel like I'm in front of a cork board with 1,000 strings and different pictures in front of it. And it's just how does it all connect? What does it mean? What's going on?
I really think the most crazy batshit thing you can do is if you do end it on Aerith's death for part 2, if she doesn't die.
If she somehow survives and they end it like that, fuck.
And here's the really interesting thing. The reason the party won, and people would be like, that's bullshit, you can't just ruin the most tragic thing in the story, whatever. They're not thinking ahead. The reason the party won at the end of the game is because Aerith was dead in part of the live stream.
Well, no, here's the thing. I actually went back and before, while I was waiting for Final Fantasy the Remake to unlock, I watched a video that I would not be able to name right now, but I will try to remember to link it on Twitter later. But it was about talking about the plot points of Final Fantasy VII and its meaning and all of that shit, its themes and all that. It actually, he pointed out something that I didn't realize, is that Aerith didn't have to die. Her prayer reached holy, right? Her prayer activated her materia. But
right.
At the last second, but the thing is that holy couldn't activate not because of Aerith, but because of Sephiroth. The whole reason the party has to go defeat Sephiroth is because holy is kicking, man. That spell is going. It is ready, and the only thing keeping it from triggering is Sephiroth is blocking it at the Northern Crater.
Right.
Aerith never intended to die, because Tifa even says she talked about the future more than any of us. Aerith had no plans to die. She didn't have to die for her plan to work. Her dying was just Sephiroth trying to stop her, and he fucked up because he didn't get her fast enough.
God, you're right.
Yeah. Makes you feel crazy.
That's really... Holy shit, though, because in this game, Aerith talks a lot in the remake about fate and about destiny and how she is afraid, how she's concerned at the end that she's not beholden by fate. And it's implied a few times that Aerith knew she was going to die eventually.
Yeah, this Aerith knows / thinks that she's gonna die. But
because there's a bit in the sewer sequence when you're escaping from Don Corneo.
Yeah.
Where Tifa kind of notices that Aerith is a little hesitant. Yep. Even though they're talking about how, like, they want to stop the plate falling, and they're like, there's no way they're actually going to drop the plate, you know? Mm-hmm. Tifa notices that Aerith is kind of, like, holding something back.
She's like, what are you not telling me?
And there are a few other times where it's kind of implied that Aerith knows what's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. So... it almost seems kind of like Aerith knows she's gonna die, or knows in big fat fucking question marks that she's gonna die.
And also, Red 13 knows a lot of stuff he probably shouldn't know, because he's the one who pointedly says out that what they're seeing are futures that are meant to come, you know?
Yeah, and then says that he got all of that stuff when Aerith, like, what did she do? Like, cleared his brain or something? I guess
because she does the same thing to Marlene.
Oh, yeah.
Remember when she rescues
my God,
Marlene?
That's right, because Marlene pulls away and is like, hey, wait, you're... And then she doesn't finish her sentence because, I mean, she's 6 and she probably doesn't understand what she's perceiving.
Yeah, and then when the party's talking about how they have to go find Aerith, she's like, says like, oh yeah, that lady was kind of, and then just doesn't finish her sentence.
Yeah. Oh. The answer that you're looking for, Marlene, is familiar. Like you've met her before. That you already know this is... Oh, Nomura! I feel like I'm insane. Like, the more you talk about it, the bigger your brain just expands. And at this point, my skull is huge. Like... what does it all mean? So does, like, Red know something to some extent?
I think for sure Red got glimpses of the future when Aerith calmed him down. Because maybe he is the one... the first memory is of him at the end of the game.
Yeah.
And he's the one who says this is the future that was meant to be.
Right.
Like he says it like it's something he's already aware of. He doesn't say it in amazement, you know?
Yeah.
It's something that he already knows and he's able to explain to the party.
Yeah, and he can comprehend it, and I assume that's because of some weird mental link thing Aerith did. Oh, man.
My head hurts.
My head hurts. We are in galaxy brain territory right now, my friend, where it's just like anything is fucking possible. We have already, like, there's so many small, like, changes that have just popped up. I mean, small and big. I mean, with fucking Zack maybe not being dead and Biggs not being dead and fucking all of them knowing, like, certain parts of the future. And it's just like, I could easily see part 2 being almost like a fucking Tales of the Abyss type thing, where it's like trying really, really hard to fight against fate and failing, like, but failing and also succeeding at the same time, if that makes sense, where certain things keep happening the way they were supposed to happen, in question marks, but then, like, other things change, and it's like, does that mean you changed fate, or did fate ultimately yank you back on the path anyways, you know?
Like, fuck fate. All my homies hate fate.
You can't say that now. That's how we gotta end the podcast, man. How are you gonna take the fuck fate away from me, you bastard?
No, we have legitimate gripes to do that one.
That's true.
But I'm just like, I think my personal take about this, is that with the Arbiters dead,
right,
we are going to get for part 1, we got everything was more or less the same until the very, very end.
Right.
Part 2 is just going to start diverging middle of the way.
Yes.
And it's going to be slow at first, but by the end of it, part 2 is going to end in a completely different place than the game should be.
Oh, that's ballsy if that's true. Nomura is just on another plane of existence if that's what happens.
Mm-hmm. I think that's where it's going to go. Is it because like you said, like, the things that have changed so far are not really, like relevant to the party immediately.
Yeah.
But since they're not bound by the whispers anymore, it's going to change more.
See, what I'm fascinated by the concept is that, like, if they... Oh, you want to get big brained for a second?
Sure.
If they have established in some way that Zack might still be alive, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Cloud has based a lot of the way he is off of Zack. And at the end of part 2, Cloud falls into the fucking live stream and just kind of goes missing for a while, like the way it does in Disc 2. I'm just saying, man, we might not... I mean, like, there's a chance we might actually be playing as Cloud for part of part 3.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, right?
That's pretty big.
It's pretty big.
That would be pretty big to do the tutorial for part 3 as Zack.
As Zack. And that's why your stats are reset.
Oh.
What's up, baby? I'm finger gunning it as hard as I possibly fucking can at my screen right now. I hope you're ready. It's still like 4 years away.
I know.
It's gonna blow your mind out of the back of your head, maybe. Oh, God. And of course, we can be totally wrong. I mean, we were so wrong about so many of our fucking predictions, but we are now in like full conspiracy theorizing now. You can't stop this train. Just like Barrett says, there's no stopping this train we're on, y'all. It can only go one way, and that's where the tracks take it.
We're in uncharted territory. Anything can happen at this point.
It's so good, too. It kicks so much ass, too, like, because, like Nobara said, it's like, if this has just been a one-to-one remake of Final Fantasy VII with some extra stuff thrown in it, then you would have known, you would have never been caught off guard by anything. You would just be ready for all of it. And it's like, no, that's not the story that we want to tell. We want to tell something totally new and different, and see what happens with it, and try to do something different with these characters and the story that's being told with them, while still preserving, like, the spirit of the original to some degree, which is just so cool. Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready for part 2. Part 2 is 800 years away. 800 miles years? 800 years
Light
away.
years.
Yeah, thank you. And, like, it's gonna be a long 2 years, my mans.
Yeah.
I don't know how I'm supposed to make it, and I'm really hoping for a trailer sooner than later, you know? God.
Alright, I think we need to stop.
Do we need to stop? Is there anything else you want to get out of your system before we go?
Yeah, actually, you know what? One more thing.
Yeah, hit
7
me.
seconds till the end.
What the fuck does that mean?
Those are gonna be some keywords.
What does that mean? It's like the coolest album title ever, for one. But for two, what does 7 seconds... I saw somebody, like I was telling you earlier, I saw somebody say that 7 seconds till the end is how long it takes for Sephiroth to kill Aerith. I don't think it is. I didn't time it like I said I would before this podcast started, because I never do my homework. But like... what? What does 7 seconds till the end mean? Is it like 7 seconds on like a galactic scale, and 7 seconds is actually like thousands of years, and so you have all the time in the world, but you might not be able to do anything with it, and this will all end the way it did before? I don't know.
It's a mystery.
It's a mystery.
But we're gonna
Sephiroth, you bastard.
We're gonna have that pinned on the top of the corkboard.
Make us feel extra crazy. I do love that is a, again, shot-to-shot recreation of the final victory lap fight against Sephiroth.
Yeah, that is really cool.
But it doesn't end in an Omni-Slash. It ends in Sephiroth being like, nope, we're not done here, buddy. You and I have a lot more to do. And it's like, what does that mean?
I said, I am completely blown away at how much Sephiroth is just young Xehanort in Kingdom Hearts 3. Like,
he's so scary in this game. He is so... I mean, for one, he's like 20 feet tall. For some reason. He is super... Cloud is 5'8", which, I mean, he's a manlet, but Sephiroth is way taller than 6 foot in this game. And it's extremely imposing. So, like, good for them to actually make a character who's kind of like, you know, like, an overdone villain, they actually made him intimidating again, which owns. Yeah. It's so good.
Okay.
Are we done?
I think so.
Oh god, I feel like I'm dying. I feel like we're probably... If you give it 2 weeks and I've had more time to replay this game, I could probably come back and be like, there's more! Don't worry, the internet will be on fire with theories. I can only assume. So,
oh, yeah.
Crazy people came up with the whole dream theory about Kingdom Hearts 3, so give it time. Don't worry, we'll get there.
Don't worry about it. We'll get
It's only been a week.
Yeah. Give us a month and then everything will be insane.
I can't wait. Other people are taking their time to beat this game, unlike myself, so... Maybe one of them will give me something juicy to sink my teeth into. Yeah. But for now, we gotta stop. It's 2.5 hours. Yeah. Oh my god.
Thank you, Visitor Fuse, for background music. You can follow me on Twitter at thegorgepodcast. You can follow Sara at radioinactivity. You can email us at thegorgepodcast@gmail.com. If you want to listen to Sara talk about more RPGs, you can listen to her other podcast.
Hey, I'm in another podcast called Big Gay Nerds, where me and a bunch of cool queer friends get together and we play tabletop games. We try out lots of different systems. We have a lot of fun. Right now we're playing Blaze in the Dark, which is also hurtling towards an absolutely batshit conclusion, and you should 100% come check us out. This is easily my favorite game, like my favorite system that we've played. It owns... So we're at Big Gay Nerds on SoundCloud. That's all one word. You can find the links to the rest of our social media from there. Thanks.
All right, that'll do it for us. I hate to say this.
Don't do it.
Fuck the Hell House.
It does make me a little sad that Hell House is so drawn out. It does make me a little sad. It's like a 15-minute boss fight. You
had this great moment with it. And it was like, it's Hell House. And we're making a big deal to show that it's Hell House. And the announcer is going nuts, talking about stuff Hell House is doing and how the team is reacting.
That was cool. I don't know if you got to it, but the announcers react to the different summons. I summoned Shiva, and they specifically commented on my summoning Shiva, which was awesome.
It's so cool. It's so awesome and in depth. And then the fight lasts 5 minutes too long.
Oh, it takes a really long time. It's true. It sucks. And I hate that. I don't want Hell House to suck, but, it's a long fight. Do you know what it does in hard mode? Because it has another phase.
No, what is it?
It spits out a bunch of tonberries.
Okay, you know what? I'm not going to do hard mode. I'm not even going to...
Fuck hard mode, y'all. That's the real one.
Yeah.
It's fuck hard mode.
Nope.
Nope. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.